And we are here for the 3rd annual Women's Summit. Are you ready? Yes. We are ready to empower one another. We are ready to love one another. We are ready to lift one another. And right before we get started and bring to you definitely the hostess with the mostest, the none other than Joetta herself, we're going to just have a word of prayer. We're going to unify. We're going to believe God for all things that are possible on this day. We're going to share, we're going to care. Father, we come before you, even as humble as we know how. We're not worthy enough to praise your name, but we give you all the honor and the glory. To God be the glory for the things he has done. The battle for some has been difficult, but Lord, we know because of you, victory has already won. We ask that you set your pace in this place on today, that we will strengthen, we will be encouraged, we will remember to look at one another and lift each other up. We thank you for bringing us together in love and fellowship and peace. And on this day, Lord, we will share that we will take life and have it that more abundantly. We thank you for the host, the visionary. We ask that you continue to bless her, to lead her, and to guide her. In the mighty, the marvelous, and the matchless name of Jesus Christ, can we join in together and say amen? Amen. Amen. Are you ready? Yes. Give yourselves a round of applause. What we've got to do today, we've got to collectively muster up everything that we get from every one of the individuals that will be coming forth today. And we've got to be better than we were yesterday. We got to be more productive than we were on today, tomorrow. So put your hands together. I present to some and introduce to others none other than Joetta.
Fearless men, thank you for attending the 3rd annual Joetta Empowerment Summit. This is a great event, and it's a great event because you are here. Leslie Clark Headley is the voice of my choice. You can make her the voice of your choice because she does a lot of MC events, and she'll be honored to speak on behalf of your organization. So think of her when you have something to do and need a speaker. She's fantastic, as you've already seen. I'm a motivational speaker, but today we're doing something a little different. We're going to have a conversation with Joetta. So you're wondering, why is it just Joetta? Well, you've heard of Oprah, you've heard of Prince, you heard of Madonna, now you hear Joetta. So that is kind of what we've been changing and morphing to over the last couple of years. So now it's officially Joetta. Before we begin the conversation, I want to introduce my sponsors, because without them, this wouldn't really happen. They're always so humble, and they may not stand up, but I hope they make some noise. Horizon and J Helm, thank you. Solo and Company, thank you. Here we go. Thank you. Also, Investors Bank, did they make it in? Investors Bank, we'll clap for them. Goldberg and Henry, they are not here, but they made a contribution for the event as well. And also, Plainfield, the city of Plainfield. I know they're here. So we have a great program set up for you, but for now, we're going to have a conversation with Joetta.
Okay, everybody, absolutely. I have to sit up. I'm not as fit and formed as the lovely Joetta.
But she's focused. She is focused.
So what we're doing right now, we are going to be personal with each other. It's going to be a conversation. This was not planned. It's just improv. We're going to just find out what we want to know about Joetta. So we're going to have a little bit of a maybe 5-minute Q&A after the conversations in itself. But I'm going to be privileged at this time to interview Joetta. Now, of course, you probably gathered by now with the same part name. We are related. But that doesn't mean that I know, and it doesn't mean that I'm ready for this. But there are some questions I want to know, so I know there are some questions you want to know. So, Joetta, in conversation, we noticed here that you had the 4-time Olympian. But we all know from following you that you are more than a 4-time Olympian. I would like to say that Maya Angelou released the P, you picked it up, and you brought us to know what a phenomenal woman is. So we want to know in here today, how do you get to that point, knowing inside I'm a phenomenal woman, but I need for the world to know I'm a phenomenal woman, not for me, but because I need to bring the purpose out in me, so that I can make other people understand that they too are phenomenal. How do you start?
Well, thank you for that long question. And my answer will be long as well. We call this summit Phenomenal, Fit, and Focus. And yes, we are phenomenal women. And at times, we question that. So I'm all grown up now. I have my AARP card like many of you. So that means I'm over 50, right? So, and when I talk about being phenomenal, it's something that comes from within. But as a youngster, I did not know that. Your parents always say, you're good and you're this, and they tell you that. But when do you really focus on that and believe it? I started believing that when I said, I am who I think I am. And act in that way. I'm not blessed because, or phenomenal because I'm special. I'm living my purpose through God. God has given me a purpose and I'm living that purpose through Him. So I say that, be who you are meant to be. You are who you think you are, and you walk out in that path. If you're winning, keep winning. Don't lower your standards to accommodate other people. Now again, we're all grown up now, so it took a while for me to get to that stage that I'm extraordinary. Most other people out in the world are ordinary. And because you are extraordinary, you can't waste your time trying to convince other people that they're extraordinary. They don't get your vision. So when you're going about being phenomenal, you're being phenomenal for yourself, unless you are with extraordinary people. That's why a summit like this brings collectively phenomenal women and fearless men And what happens is you network, you feed off one another, you learn from each other, and then when you leave here, you leave with that inner feeling of, I got this. I gotta do this. I've gotta act out on who I am and who I believe that I am. So that's why I think that I'm phenomenal, but I don't have to tell people that. It's the way I act, it's the way I walk, it's who I am. I don't need to do anything to browbeat you into thinking that. It's just my essence. So be who you are, be phenomenal in your space, and have people in your space that understand that you are extraordinary and they walk with you in that path.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's okay to applaud, absolutely. It's taken in, that's applause. Joetta, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking that this audience of people here, many times people go through trials, tribulations, and people may think that you've been here in this place or in this space forever. But I'm privileged to know, number one, from reading your book, that you've had some notes. I'm also privileged to know from being a family member that you had an accident years ago as to where you almost lost your life. Medically, you were disabled for a short while. How do you come back from a setback?
That's a good question. A lot of times you do see the 4-time Olympian, but I tried out 6 times. You do see my perfume line, my book, my body scrub, you see this event. But the reality is that when I had a setback, my personality was that I can't let that define who I am. So for me, the setback was just set up for something great, but I just didn't know what it was. But I knew to stay the course. I always say, to bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you forget to turn. So what happened when I got to that bend, that end of the road, in that bend, I kept turning. So when I had the car accident in 1998, I was bedridden for about 3 months, wasn't supposed to run again. So I went through a whole rehab that people didn't know. All they knew was that Joetta was now in last place, and she used to win her races. But because I knew what I was trying to do, I stayed the course and ended up making the Olympic team in 2000. My point is that everything is not going to go your way, but there's a higher purpose out there. And if you put the work in, if you stay committed to what it is that you want to do, it will come around. The Olympics came around in 1988, 92, 96, and 2000. 1980, I didn't make it. 1984, I did not make it. The car accident happened. Another story happened. I have my dear friend Candy is in the room, and she can tell you, it's in my book as well. I was over in Europe, and I had just run a really fast time. And when you're in Europe running, there are 2 halves, first half and second half. And the second half of the season was usually for the elite athletes that were running really fast. And those of us who was not running fast would have to go home. However, in the last meet of the first session, I ran really fast. So in my mind, because I knew what was going on, I believed that I should be coming back for the second half. But my agent said, Joetta, you have to go home. He gave me $200 and said, that was all you're gonna get and you have to go home. So I'm in the room with my dear friend Candy, who you were here in one of our sessions, and I'm like, Candy, I can't go home. First of all, Candy was kicking butt, and she was first half, second half, and if there was a third half, she'd have been there too. So she's going to second half, and her dear friend is going home. So I said, Candy, come with me down to the meet director's room. So we walked down the hall, knocked on the door, and athletes didn't do that. You had an agent. So I opened the door and said, hey, I want to go to this next meet. I said, I just got finished winning this race, and I ran this time. He looked at me in disbelief that, first of all, we were both in the room as athletes, asking him this question. This was a big meet director. Asking him to be on the charter flight to the next meet. Make a long story short, when I walked out that room, it was a yes, and we were on that charter flight to the next meet, and I made the next meet, the next meet, and the next meet. So, thank you. So my point is that in life, when you go through challenges, you have to be your own best advocate. And you can't rely on other people to advocate for you. And that's what I did then, and that's what I do now. I often say to my spouses, so thank you for listening, don't give me a fast yes, give me a fast no, give me a slow yes. And that slow yes will be the best decision that you made. So often people just cut you off saying, no, 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 no. Wait a minute, don't give me a no, give me a slow yes. And I promise that I'll make this turn out well for you. So that's what I would say about those bends in the roads and those setbacks. And everyone has them in life, be it kids, be it relationship, be it work, whatever it is, there's setbacks. But the one thing that you have to know that I will keep going back to is that you gotta do. And you know what you gotta do because it's in your heart. No matter what the weather was like today, you gotta get up and come here. So thank you. No matter what was going on, as you saw initially, I was not the keynote speaker. The other lady that we had here got sick and couldn't come. But this is what I do. So I gotta do this. And I said, I'm gonna take it up a notch. I'm having a conversation to make it a little bit different, to add the audience into the conversation as well.
Absolutely wonderful, I'll tell you. Joetta, many of us in here are businesswomen, family, entrepreneurs, nonprofit foundations. We have it all going on. But in the midst of that, we have our personal lives as well. Some are wives, others are mothers. You just have everything that you have to be doing. But you know that there's something that you need to be fulfilling in your purpose. How do you find the time? How do you let go of some things without making them feel that they're less? To hold on to you and become that Joetta, that Leslie, that Sandy, that whomever. How do you do it all?
Well, I don't say that I do it all, but whatever I do it the best that I can. And I think the one thing I would say to that is that we do try and spread ourselves too thin. And I've learned over the years is that you have this cup, and the cup should have good stuff in it. So if I have a lot of good stuff in my cup, when it spills over, the people around me get the good stuff too. And there are times when the cup gets low, and you have people that want to pour their stuff in it, which is not good, and that contaminates your cup. So what I want you to do is, and what I do is that I make sure that I'm putting positive, good things in my cup, so it flows over, and the overflow comes to all of you, and it's good stuff. And when people say, well, how can I balance this and how can you do that? I've learned to put myself first. Don't apologize for putting yourself first. Because if you're not good to yourself, you won't be good for anybody else. And we hear this all the time. And I say that in the morning, we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we get ourselves dressed and we get the kids' breakfast ready, and then we get them off to the school bus. We go to work. Before we go to work, however, we stop by the grocery store to pick up our groceries, and then we put clothes in the cleaners, and then next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock, we're in the office on a 2-hour conference call, looking at emails. It's 12 o'clock. Instead of us working out and exercising or walking around, we go back outside to go to the post office and do something like that. We get back home to the office, and then it's, 1:30, 2 o'clock, our kids are getting off the school bus. Then what happens? You got a call to check on them, look at your little smart cameras to make sure that they're doing the right thing. And then it's 4 o'clock, they have soccer, lacrosse, gymnastics, you take them to their activities. Then you're home, it's time for dinner, time for homework. 6:30, they're eating. Then you go, the doorbell rings. As you walk to get the door, your significant other tells you to pass him the remote control. You want to pick it up and throw it up and knock it out with the remote control. Now it's 7:30, you're doing dishes, kids doing homework. You gotta put the kids in bed. Now it's 9:30. Guess what you're doing? You decided to go back and get your MBA, your law degree, your master's degree. Now you're studying. Here it is 10:30, 11 o'clock. You get in bed. They give you that nudge, or you awake nudge. You roll over and smile on your face and go to sleep. So what you got to do is, see, you're left way too hard over here. So what you got to do is make sure that you put yourself first, and then you're able to deal with the rest of your day.
Wow.
And if you men are in here nodding, I'm sorry to call you all out like that.
Wow, that's what you call self-love. Joetta, here's a question that I have for you. Like I said, it's a room full of probably entrepreneurs. But what about entrepreneur extraordinaire? You didn't stop at entrepreneur. Now, you are in a place, as a four-time Olympian, you came back home. When you came back home, I remember a phone call. You were working, I think, for the Metal Lines as a commissioner or something of the sort. Nice job. Doing well. And you simply said to me in the middle of our conversation, this is not for me. I'm working at an airline, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, she's the commissioner. I mean, she's giving me tickets to come to the Skybox, and she's like, this is not for me. And I'm like, what do you mean? I gotta be doing more. You made a decision that day, and you took a leap of faith. You left that job, and you have not looked back. You didn't leave that job to go to another job. You said, I've got to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is where you are today. How do you recognize, without walking from a job and all of a sudden becoming homeless and all the other stuff that can happen to you because you thought you had a vision that said you need to leave your job? How do you really know in your gut that it's time to take that leap of faith?
That's a good question, and that's an honest situation. I was commissioner of sports in New Jersey, so I ran the Meadowlands Sports Complex. At that time, we had the Jets, the Giants, the Metro Stars, the Pegasus racetrack, so I was overseeing all of that. And I think for selfish reasons, she was upset that I was leaving because she didn't get basketball tickets, football tickets, Madonna concerts, Prince concerts, so she's not telling the truth about this. I think what she said is, are we still gonna be able to get tickets? Because she said that Prince was coming and Madonna was the headline of that concert. So let the truth be told, but that's what happened. So, but to answer her question, the reason I knew that that was not for me, that was a holding place. There's seasons. People in your life for reasons and for seasons. The reason that I'm here is because I knew my season. The reason I was at the sports, Meadowlands Sports Complex for that 7-year period was to get the context, get the network, get the information I need to start my own business. See, I was there learning the industry. Wherever you are you learning the industry, learning that space? So it's not learning that space to stay, it's learning that space to go and grow. So are you doing that, or are you just going to that job or whatever you're doing day in and day out and not growing, expanding, reaching out to people, helping people so when you leave, if that's your desire, someone else can take the helm. So when I made up my mind to go, it was to go because it was time for me to grow. And I wanted to have my own. My mother was an entrepreneur. She had her own beauty shop in the city of Newark. So I knew about being an entrepreneur. I wanted to do that. And I enjoyed the job there. I enjoyed being a state investigator for the drug diversion section, but that wasn't my purpose. And so once I realized my purpose, it was simple. And how do you know your purpose? What gives you joy on the inside of your soul? I don't know what it is, but what gives you that? Those vendors out there that you will frequent when you leave my session, that is the joy in their soul. People say, well, I want to be happy. Happiness is circumstantial. I have a car, I'm happy. I have a house, I'm happy. I'm in a relationship, I'm happy. I'm traveling, I'm happy. Are you happy when you're in a 1-bedroom, or do you have to have 5 bedrooms? So the joy, however, is with you no matter where you are and what you have on. If I was in Cuba, I had joy in my soul. If I'm at my home, I have joy in my soul. If I'm speaking in front of an audience of 150 or 500, there's joy in my soul. So you have to find the thing that gives you the joy in your soul. And when you find that joy, you're able to handle everything else. But if you're trying to find happiness, you're going to be miserable. So I challenge all of you to find the joy in your soul that will put you in a career path or a new path of your life. And it goes in stages. It could be relationship, it could be kids, it could be whatever. But what doesn't change is that joy. So where I am now, my space, I'm in joy. And there are going to be things and situations that try and be ants on that blanket. Shake those ants off your blanket. That's what you have to do, shake them off. Because you've got to maintain the joy that's in your soul. Okay?
Wonderful, wonderful. Wow. Joetta, this is going to be my final question from the platform, and then we're going to go to the audience a little bit. We want the tea. We want to know what's coming next. I mean, we've seen everything from the books, the keynote speaker, the New Jersey State Best Businesswoman, the Hall of Fames, the Olympian 4 times, all of it. We want to know the tea. The perfume, the scrub, what's coming next, Joetta?
What's coming next? Well, I think that being a self-employed, an entrepreneur, you have to keep recreating and reinventing yourself and rebranding. So what you see now is that, yes, all the things that Leslie said that I have, I do, and I'm thankful for that. But she is right because she knows me. So what is next? What is next is, I have something called motivational expressions, which is embracing me. Motivational expressions. And it will be a book that has quotes in it and fitness tips for you to use every day. So on Monday, it'll be an expression with a fitness activity to do that day. So it's called Motivational Expressions, which is embracing me. So when you get the book, it's not embracing Joetta, it says embracing me. And the me will be you. So that's my next chapter. So in April, you'll be able to get that book called Motivational Expressions, Embracing Me.
Absolutely wonderful. Let's give her a round of applause. Absolutely. We're going to go to the audience. I'm going to take some time to get out of this chair. But Joetta, before we end this platform Q&A conversation, we just want to say thank you. And I really want to say that from the bottom of my heart. I had the opportunity, I want to say a month ago. We see Joetta in forums such as this, platforms such as this. But I had the opportunity to see her at the YMWCA in Newark. I saw her with a group of senior citizens, a very small group, not even about maybe 20 people. And she was giving them the same energy, the same information, the same that you can be better and do better that she's giving us today. I've seen you with small children, inner city children, children all over, giving them the same energy, the fitness, the care about you, the love you. You do it all. You give it to everybody, every culture, ethnicity, religion. It doesn't matter. You love God's people, and because of that, we love you too. Can you please give a round of applause to Joetta?
And before she gets up, the reason why I'm able to do that is simple. Because I'm pouring in with positive stuff in my cup. And if I didn't do that, when it flows over to everyone, I wouldn't be able to do it. So sometimes I think my events are about me as well, because I have all of you that I talk to, that I get information from, I get energy from, I get ideas from. So I thank you for giving into me. And even though I don't know every one of you, I will speak to you and get some energy from you, some ideas from you. And guess what? It's not always about what I can do for you. It's about what you can do for me and what we can do for each other. So that's why I'm able to continue to give and support and love on everyone, because I'm now at a point in my life where I put good stuff in my cup all the time.
Absolutely wonderful. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, I'm going to call on some help here. I'm going to ask Brad. I'm going to ask him to take the microphone. We're going to give people an opportunity. And we're going to ask that you raise your hand to ask some questions for Joetta on your own. And let's give yourselves a round of applause. You're a great audience. You're a great audience.
You're not traffic out there. It's going to be serious. So you want to leave out on time. So we have a microphone, so if you have any questions, I'll be glad and willing to answer a question. So the mic has Brad. Can you get that microphone over to Lady Miss T in the back? Raise your hand. Brandon, get the microphone over to you. Thank you. As my dad was saying, act like you're trying to get there. There you go.
So good morning, Joetta.
Good morning.
This morning.
Well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's stand up, tell us your name, where you're from, who you're representing, so then, you know, that will start some kind of networking dialogue with the audience. Thank
So
you.
I'm Tessa Frisbee, and I'm with, this hat today is, I'll represent the YMCA of Trent, Capital Area YMCA. But Senator Frisbee is the CEO, happens to be my favorite person in the whole world. But
Her husband.
but I was wondering, so if you're around a lot of people and their cups are full, and you are just getting your cup and you're unsure of what it is that you want to do, but you know that there's something in you that you want to do, but sometimes people can be intimidated by those around them. How would you suggest that they get themselves started with getting their cup full?
That's a good question. She said at least she has a cup. So that's the start. And she mentioned that she's around people who have cups that are full. So in that case, you're trying out the different coffees. So someone's saying this, someone's saying that, someone's saying that. There's something that's going to resonate within your soul. So once you get that information, you pour that into your cup. Now, I think that a lot of times we, as Teska said, that we don't know what we're going to put in our cup, but she is at least starting with the cup. And you know that the joy in your soul comes from something. I beg to differ. I think that you do know what you want to put on there, in there, but you are afraid to make that leap of faith to do it. So we all know what we're supposed to do. It's in us. But we don't want to give about 6 figures. We don't want to give about tickets to the Giants games. We don't want to give about St. John's and Chisney. Oh, I hear you. I see you all. You don't want to do that. But there's a time where you have to step back, reassess, and get ready to jump again. And so when you know you have a cup, and you have people around you that have their cups full, you know who you are and whose you are. So stop being afraid to be who you were made to be. Be who you are meant to be. And again, we need insurance. We need these things. I understand that. But if you put your energy into that passion, instead of talking your way out of something, talk your way into it. So when you say, I can't do that because, hit a switch and stop that negative thinking. And then when you do that, then your cup will begin to get full with your coffee. Okay? Yeah, thank you. Just raise your hand. Okay, I see someone in the back. If you have a loud voice, it might be resonant. If you don't, wait for the microphone.
Good morning.
Oh, she is not in the microphone. Okay.
My name is Shabani Afalabi. Oh, thank you.
My name is Shabani Afalabi. I'm in transition with a career. Earlier we talked about, as women, we get up early until time to go to bed. Excuse me, it's all about everyone else. And that we should take some time to do something for ourselves. However, as women, sometimes that's counterintuitive because it's in our nature to make sure everyone else is okay. Our spouses, our kids, grandma, parents. So how do you put time aside for yourself? Where do you do that in your day?
You split, you know that song, swing your hair back, you wait to do your nails. You check your nails, you know that song? Oh, okay, well, go to camping session. My point is that you have to check yourself. You have to. You've got to do that because if you don't, we have medical issues that will come from us running and doing. So you got to take care of yourself. You see someone up here that may be fit or someone that you may think isn't fit, you don't know what they're going through. But I tell you what I do. I get my checkups and I take it down. I can't be everything to everybody. And I am selfish. It's all about me. Because if I'm no good for me, if I'm not happy, at this point in my life, nobody else will be. So I suggest to you and anyone else that's having that challenge is to look yourself in that mirror. You may fool the whole world that the pathways of life, you get passed on the back as you pass. But your true reward will be heartache and pain. if you trick that woman in the glass. So there's no need for trickery. You look that woman in the glass and say, hey, I deserve this, and I'm not doing it that way anymore. And don't apologize. Be unapologetic, because you are phenomenal, you're fit, and you're focused, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says. Stay focused, and that stands for follow one course until successful. And that's what you do. More questions? I saw a hand over here, I thought. Okay.
I'll try out loud voice.
No, the mic is, oh.
So I'm Carrie Preston. I'm an entrepreneur. I work in leadership development. But I was watching your race, and something came to my mind, which is like that push. And a lot of times there's like physically we're challenged, or mentally we're challenged, we're drained, we're depleted. And I just would love to know, like, what is your go-to expression when, like, you are physically like, I'm tired, I can't keep going, or you're mentally like, the hurdle just seems too high? Where do you go? Like, when I look at you, I want to know what's going on in your brain in that heat of the moment.
Well, I'm gonna do a two-part. It's gonna be a little longer than what you're asking, but I think it'll be relevant. If you're looking and referring to that race, my sister-in-law, Gerald Miles Clark. Stand up, Gerald, please. Let me see the love for Gerald Miles Clark. And Gerald is a 5-time Olympian, world champion, had the American record. She has gold medals from the Olympics and a silver medal. And I tell you that because Gerald ran the 400 for many years. She had the good fortune to marry my brother and marry to the Clark family. And when she did that, my brother, her husband, decided to put Gerald of 1 lap into my race, which is 2 laps. So was I happy about that? Absolutely not. If you can't understand it from a racing perspective, understand it from this perspective. There's a businesswoman who does amazing things at that company. You marvel at her, you read her books, you follow her on Instagram and her blogs. You get the memo on Monday that on Wednesday, she's coming to your company. And she may even take your position. Are you happy about that? No, but the reality is, there's no reason why 2 people can't achieve and do great at the same company. I didn't understand that. We're saying right, but that was wrong. I was upset at Gerald, upset at my brother, wanted to leave Team Clark. I dare you put your wife in my race. Remember all the trouble I got into, because as the oldest sibling, you know you get in trouble when they do something wrong. And back then it was time out. And so, I'm upset that my bottom is still sore, but you tell me a happy life is a happy wife. And so the point is that when Gerald came into my event, she made it her event. And once I realized that I might not beat her, because she had the nerve to run the American record the second time she ran the race. Now I've been running 800 for 15 years, and that's a bunch of half miles. Her second time, and guess who was in that race? In the back? Me. So I wasn't happy. But once I embraced that if she can do that, that's not my calling. My calling was for Olympic teams. My calling was American records and other events, world championships and other meets. That was my calling. Once I realized that, I made a lot of money, because why? My training changed, but I became a rabbit. And in track and field, the rabbit is the pace setter. But because I can run the race and run that time and make it to the points at a certain time, they said, Joetta, we're going to pay you to run and stop. So now I'm making more money for stopping than I was when I was finishing. But if I didn't embrace the fact that she could come in my space and I would be okay with that, it would be okay. So that's that part. Now my word would be the gotta do, is what you gotta do. And when you are feeling tired, when you're feeling worn down, when you're feeling beat up, you gotta rest. You got to rest. So that's what I say. And I'm not saying to empty your credit card and go away for a month. But I understand it takes some me time. Take time to embrace you. Because when you're resting, you're refueling. And so we need to refuel. We can't keep going. We can't. And I learned that as well. Because people think because we are women, that we are entrepreneurs, or we have our own companies, or whatever it is that we're doing, that we can just keep going and going and going and going. And guess what? If someone isn't doing it right, then you take that job and you do it yourself. But you're paying people to do that job. Let them do the job. Or find somebody else to do it and makes your job easy. So that's where I am in my business. I find people that work within the system that I want, because I'm self-employed, and if I have to go behind you, checking up on you, and I'm paying you as well, I have a problem. But when you're in corporate, I understand a different dynamic, but it's the same concept. So that's it. So my go-to word is gotta do. Remain focused, follow one course until successful, and then inch. I never cease hoping. Hope is that little flicker of light that says I can. So never cease hoping. We're winding down now. We have like 2 more minutes, and I just want to say, any more questions before I'm sorry. 2. Brad, this young lady here, and then this table here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lola Sargent, and I've moved through a few careers. I've been an engineer. I was a global strategic planner. I was also a corporate business director. And now I'm teaching middle school math. And I'm having the time of my life. I'm living my best life. I'm also a huge track and field fan. And Joetta and the Clark family are my idols. I have 2 daughters who also happen to be 800-meter runners and have had the pleasure and the privilege to get to know Joetta and her family and look up to them and are looking to really continue carrying the torch. But the legacy that you have left in track and field is unmatched. I'm a fan, and I'm still a fan. Will be a fan till my last breath. So what I wanted to ask you was, can you share with us over your long career a memory on the track that's one of your best memories on the track?
Okay. She's being very humble. She has 2 daughters. One's a graduate of Cornell, the other one's a sophomore at the University of Florida. And she's allowed me, given me the privilege of every time I'm down there, I take her out to have breakfast, her daughter. And her daughter is 19 now, or 20. And so that's my time to give back to someone that's younger, to find out what they're doing, what their thoughts are. So I enjoy meeting with Gabby every time I'm down in Gainesville, taking her out to eat and just seeing what that young mind is thinking outside of track and field. I have three moments, and they'll be quick. The first moment is making my first Olympic team in 1988 by the skin of my shoulder. That I outleaned someone and who happens to be a good friend of mine now. So that was my first moment. Another moment of mine was leaving the state of New Jersey undefeated and having won, the only athlete in the state ever to, in any sport, to have won the sectionals, the groups, and all groups. Our state meet 4 consecutive years. So that is still standing. That was from 1980. And then my final moment was when my family went 1, 2, 3 at the Olympic trials. My younger sister, Hazel, made her first Olympic team. She went on to make it 2004, 2018. My sister-in-law, Gerald, made her 4th Olympic team that year, but she had already made the Olympic team earlier that week in the 400, and she made it a little bit later on that week in the 800. And then I made the team. We were coached by my brother, J.J. Clark, and my parents were alive to see that. My sister's 15 years younger than me, so That's a big gap to be in the sport long enough to have her get good enough to make an Olympic team. So those are my three favorite moments in track and field as it relates to me. And one more time.
Hi, my name is Ozzy. I am a media content creator with the city of Plainfield. I also am an entrepreneur. Hey, entrepreneurs. And I do have my own business where I capture people's life moments, their portraitures, and their special family events. I do feel like I'm very blessed to work in my passion, and I think that's what I am supposed to be doing here. And I love doing it. I thank God for it every day. But I think sometimes as high octane women, we sometimes feel like we can do, a lot of people said we can do everything. And sometimes I find myself burning out, or I get to the point where I feel like I don't have any energy left. So my question to you is, what are some things you do daily or even weekly to just ensure that you're kind of reigniting that flame or keeping that passion fresh, I would say?
Okay, thank you, good question. What I do in the morning, I get up every morning bright and early, I meditate, I use my lavender, I inhale my lavender, I say my prayers, and I do some type of fitness, something. Now, I'm not out here running and jumping and leaping and doing bounds, but I am doing something for like 10 or 15 minutes. So that's why in my book, Motivational Expressions, it will give you something you can do right at home in the morning before you go off to work. If you want to go to the gym, that's fine, but you may not want to go to the gym. In your home, you'll be able to do those things. So that's what I do to get grounded, to get centered, to be ready for this foolishness inside the house and outside the house. You don't know where you're going to get it. So I'm sorry, I shouldn't. But it's true, thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie will be our keynote speaker this afternoon. She said that's true, so I thank you for that, amen. But that is what I do. Find your regimen. Find something that you do consistently and stick to it. I don't care if you're running late, then get up earlier. Get it done, because that's how you get grounded to handle everything, and you get in that space of confidence, of empowerment, of peace. Okay, so that's what I do. So I just want to say a couple of things before I begin. There's some house things we can do. Being in the media, as you said that you already know, it's important to have this information. Hashtag, gotta do. And hashtag PPF 2019. Also, Twitter is at Joetta CDSF, and Facebook is Joetta Olympian. If there's something out there that I don't have, make it up for me, tell Janine, and we'll add it. But that's what we have now. And so I just want to thank you for being here, being on time, not only looking the part, but giving the smiles on your faces, being ready to embrace everything that's here for you. We are glad that you're here, but if you don't leave this event empowered, inspired, and ready to gotta do what you gotta do, remember, I have a dear friend, he says, remember to keep the main thing the main thing. So while you're here, remember to keep the main thing, and that's important. And so what happens now is that you look at your programs, you see the schedule, you have breakout sessions, you go to either A or B, and then some of these sessions run again, and then that's how we go all the way through until the lunchtime segment. And then we have our keynote speaker, and then we wind down. So you find a session that you think resonates with you, and if you're in a session and want to leave and go to another session, feel free to do that, okay? And I wanted to do a couple of things before we get one more thing. I want to introduce a couple of people here that have been special to me, and I hope they stand up, because if they don't, I'm going to point them out. Ramel Massey from Massey Insurance, been in the city of Newark for over 40 years. A woman-owned insurance company. They do accounting as well. She handles all my taxes as well. Handles all of my insurance for my programs. So she is a great resource, not only to the city of Newark, but to you. So if you ever a question or comment or want to find out more about what they do at Massey Insurance, you can find them at Massey. Just back from Aruba last night, so I know I'm special. That I'm sorry? She came back for me, so I appreciate that. We also have Kiana Cressman. I was thankful to bless the cover of her magazine called Emerging Women, and my daughter Talitha was inside the magazine. So please go over and speak to her. If you think you'll have a story or want to be in a magazine, please go talk to her. If you want to purchase a magazine, feel free to do that as well. And then I also have my dear friend, my Olympian, Leslie Maxey in the house. Stand up, she has been an ESPN commentator back in the day. Now she's in the media world, so please go over and speak to Leslie Maxey. I decided to have this event close to her house, which is 5 yards away, to make sure she's here, so she didn't disappoint me. So she made it here, and then I want to see, I'd be remiss, my cousins, Sabrina and Robbie. They always come and support. Family is important. You love them, you get angry at them, but no matter what, family is always first. So always thank you for putting us first in all that I do. So the time has come for you to decide where you're going to go. I don't know where you're going to go, but I do know wherever you are, it's going to be an amazing session. So go embrace this session, visit our vendors, and remember, you are phenomenal, you're fit, and you're focused. Thank you.
Let's give Joetta a call, please. Joetta.
I'm going to do a quick bio because the main person that you actually want to hear today is not myself. So, all right, I'm glad to be able to introduce Miss Jolanda Jones. Jolanda, they call Jo. She rose from a childhood of poverty and tragedy and became a TV star, best-selling author, sought-after speaker and media analyst, award-winning lawyer, elected official, U.S. champion at Tennessee, small business owner, and wonderful mom. She's overcome suicide, rape, murder, domestic violence, and multiple other obstacles. And she is an uncanny ability to turn the kryptonite into superpower. Please allow her to inspire you to greatness.
So again, I'm going to start over. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jolanda Jones. My friends call me Jo. I'm so thankful that Joetta invited me way back when I was a spring chicken in the 80s. Joetta and myself and Leslie ran on Team USA. I just turned 54 last week. So it's Scorpio season. So Joetta invited me to come, and I wanted to talk to you and share with you about how to get through, figuratively speaking, shit. SHIT stands for suffering, hardship, internalizing trauma. So before I can start talking about shit with an exclamation point, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm the oldest of 5. My life started off like it should. My mom and my dad fell in love when they were teenagers. They got married. My dad went to Vietnam. He was a Marine. In my respectful opinion, he went too young. They had me. He came back. He wasn't the same. He was, I now know, depressed. And he came home one day crying, which he did often. He took me in the room with him. My mom tried to talk with him because she was a young wife and she was cooking dinner, soup to be example, and she didn't like to see her husband crying. And he went in the room with me, talked to me, and then the next thing you know, my mom heard a gunshot. So he blew his brains out with me in the room with him. It's fine, I turned out okay. I had to get through that. And so, needless to say, that changed everything about our lives, right? So my mother had never intended to work. She intended to be a homemaker, make a bunch of babies with my daddy, and be his wife. All of a sudden, she's 20 with a baby, and she's got to figure out how to pay bills, how to take care of me, and not deal with the obviously psychological issues related to the man you love just blew his brains out. So I'm the only thing left of him. So my mom was very angry. So I know this is a women's empowerment conference, and I'm really here to talk about psychological, mental well-being, because you can appear to be successful on the outside and be a hot mess on the inside. You can be born into bad things that you have no control over, or you can make bad decisions and be stuck in it. But I don't believe that people should be judged by the worst thing they ever did or the worst mistake they ever had. So I'll continue on with my life just to let you see some of the shit that I had to deal with. So my mom was very, very, very angry, very, very, very angry at me, and she took her anger out from my dad with me. She went on to have 4 more children. So my mom had 5 kids with 4 different men. I actually didn't realize that we were half siblings, because in the black community, we grew up in the same house as my brothers and my sisters. It wasn't until we ended up moving to a suburb where it was majoritarily white that people started referring to my siblings as my half siblings. And I was like, now they're my real siblings. And so, like Joetta was talking about, family is important, and I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to listen to what Joetta said, because she talked about how you gotta do and rest. And so I want to say you got to deal with your mental health issues, right? So I can tell you, my mom's very mean to me. Kids can be very, very cruel. So they made fun of me. They said, you crazy like your daddy, when they wanted to hurt me. Go die, go be with your daddy. My dad killed himself in some property that my family owned. Whenever we passed by the fourplex that my dad killed himself in, they'd be like, Jolanda's daddy's head is under the bed. Now I can laugh about it now, but at the time, there was no laughing. They picked on me a lot. So we continued, my mom continues to have children. So my mom, and I will say this, my mother told me that she couldn't afford to put me through college, that if I wanted to change my station in life, that I needed to be educated. So because my mother never seemed to have enough money, she didn't use drugs, she didn't drink, she struggled financially because she had a bunch of kids and all the men left her. I was just born naturally competitive. I mean, I love it about myself, I hate it about myself. I mean, yeah. Interesting side note, I was on this show, Survivor. And before I was on Survivor, they did psychological testing of us, and lo and behold, they told me I'm more alpha male than anyone who would ever apply to Survivor. So I'm real alpha male, right? So, in any case, and I just remember that I had to make straight A's, so life went on. CPS tried to take us from my mom for a variety of reasons. One of which is because my mother had to go to work, so she left kids watching kids. So I've been watching children since I was 6 years and 10 months, because that's how old my next sibling is. I can cook like you can't believe, because I had to cook. So, you know, some things that are difficult can actually make you fantastic when you get older. And so I made my first B in 5th grade. I got punished for the entire summer. I couldn't go outside and play, which for a little tomboy was very difficult. I would get beat for making 97 A's instead of 100 A's. My mother told me, Jolanda Felicia, you're a 100 A student, you're not a 97 A student. Mind you, a 97 is an A plus, right? So I'm winning all these awards, we're getting evicted, so my mother couldn't afford to pay the lights in 10th grade. And this is just one of the times that I remember, but in 10th grade, we were using candles because my mother couldn't afford to pay the electricity, and the house caught fire. And the lesson I learned from that is keep it moving, because my mother, by the grace of God, was able to round us all up, get us out of the house safely, thank you, Jesus. And she dumped us at our best friend. So she took me to my best friend, Wendy Pena. I later found out Wendy couldn't stand me, and she was very irritated that her parents took me in the night our house burned down and dropped off each of my siblings at friend. We went to school the next day. And I've always been taller than Wendy. I was taller than her when I was in 10th grade. She was in 9th grade. But I went to school with crabbing pants. Now, you know what crabbing is? They're up high. It's called high water. And I remember being at school, and I remember people saying, you smell smoke. And so it's really interesting when you're going through things and you're young, you just figure out how to mask it and hide it, right? So I told people that we had a fire, but because we had an electrical short. Because for me, it was not as embarrassing to have your house catch fire because of an electrical short. We really didn't have electricity. And so we got evicted. We probably lived in 12 places from the time I was in 9th grade to 12th grade. And so life was just very difficult. My mother said very horrible things to me. She told me she wished I was never born. She told me she should have aborted me. So it was just very difficult, right? So I always was just so terrified of being outed by how we lived. I knew that we would get in trouble and they would take us if they knew I was watching my siblings. So I didn't tell anybody. I didn't have food. Sometimes the only meal I had for the day was at lunch or breakfast. And it's funny because I can laugh about it now, but at one of the community centers that I would go to for poor people, I now found out it's Section 8 housing. Is that we used to have graham crackers and orange juice. To this day, I don't eat graham crackers and orange juice. My mother couldn't afford vitamins, so we drank cod liver oil. I stay away from that too. And so, but I'm terrified that I'm gonna be out and I'm breaking all these records. I literally started being on TV in 7th grade when I was beating high schoolers. And they would always want to interview me. And they always wanted to go to where we live. Well, we might not have lights. We certainly didn't have food, right? So I was just faking it. And so I just figured out how to fit in and hide everything. And I remember after sport events, because when you're the star on every team, I was an All-American in basketball, I was an All-American in track, I was all-state in cross country. Everyone wanted to have me around. And my friends, since we moved to a suburb in a white area in high school, my friends had cars. I didn't have a car. And sometimes my mother did. And I would get up in the mornings and walk 2 miles to go to practice. Because I started doing sports because my home life was so miserable because my mother used to beat us. And I'll give you an example of a beating. I would do something in her mind and I remember she would tell me to lay on the bed and she'd make me take all my clothes off and she'd tell me to lay on the bed. And I'd lay on the bed and she'd whip me or beat me with whatever she could grab, extension cord, broom, shoe. And when I flinched, because it's like a natural instinct to protect yourself, I would get in trouble. So she made me go get wet in the tub. I'm naked and she ties me up to the baby bed so that I can't get away and she beats me. Now, let me say this. My mother and I, we get along fine now. We work through our issues. My mother had trauma that she didn't deal with and still won't deal with, so she's sort of stuck in the cycle. But my mother did love me the best way that she knew how. But, so, I didn't know how to be a lawyer. Without TV, doctors and lawyers are rich, so I was going to be one or the other. I'm a lawyer. I have a sister who's a doctor. She told me it's not a doctor. Everyone can be a doctor, so I'm a physician. Okay, so my sister's a physician. But I say that to say this. Then I go on to the University of Houston. I have a press conference. I was chosen as the best athlete, #1 athlete in Texas from the Hertz Corporation. It's called the #1 award. OJ presented me with my award in New York City. I got that picture. Somebody said, Yolanda, you need to sell it. But in any case, so I'm in college. No one understands me. I'm misunderstood. In my book, I have Carl Lewis, who was one of my teammates at the University of Houston, write the foreword because I was a hot mess, but I was just faking it. And I was so terrified. And so I ended up graduating from college with magna cum laude. I did the same in high school. I ended up winning all these awards. I won a whole bunch of Hall of Fames for track and field in Texas, but also for like being super smart, because I've always been a straight A student. And so on the outside, it looked like I had everything together because I was achieving, but I was not happy. And happiness has to be earned, right? And when Joetta was talking about finding your passion, finding your purpose, if you're doing your purpose, you will be happy going to work. That's something else that I had to deal with my mother. My mother hated her job. She was a carrier for the U.S. Postal Service. So I knew at a young age that I needed to find a job that that I liked and that I loved, so it wouldn't seem like it was a job. Because my mother hated her job, and grown-ups who hate their jobs make children who are miserable. So I thought practicing law would be everything. I thought I could save the world. My mother's an activist, my grandmother's an activist. I'm like the Angela Davis of Texas. And I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I fight for the least, the last, the lost. I'm a family lawyer. I fight for families and children that the government is trying to take away because they're poor. But for every one person I help, there's like 10,000 that I can't help. So it wasn't the massive change. And so, but I've learned that I speak well and I communicate well with people, and I just want for everyone to be happy, right? I mean authentic happiness. I don't mean fake happiness, and I know in this room we're seasoned. But if you look at social media, and we're guilty of it, people put fake happiness on social media. But I know that you could be really happy. But how are you really happy? Because on the outside, I've won all these awards. I've made all these teams. I was telling Leslie last night, because we were on USA track and field teams together, that I was winning all this stuff, but I had like no self-esteem. And so all a man had to do, and I talk about it in the book, all a man had to do when I was younger was tell me he loved me. Next thing you know, I'm sleeping with him. Because I just wanted somebody to tell me that they loved me. Because my mother literally didn't tell me that she loved me until I was in my 40s. And I just want people, and I cry when I think about it because of where I was, but I'm so happy now. And if you don't know what happiness looks like, if you don't know what happiness feels like, then you think you have to be in this existence, and you don't, right? So Joetta said something else. Joetta said, take care of me, right? Because people will talk to us and tell us that we're not supposed to love ourselves, that we're arrogant. Now, I can be a boss and be cute, right? And Leslie can be a boss and be cute, and we're not jealous of each other. We authentically want to help each other and be supportive of each other. But a lot of people have shit that's from suffering, hardship, internalizing trauma, and people have told them you can't talk about it, right? And I can tell you, before I started talking about my shit, I was stuck. So yeah, I had all these awards, but I was not happy. If you follow me on social media, I try to leave the country at least once a month. I work hard, I play hard. Joetta was talking about how do you take care of me? When you work hard, gift yourself with a nice vacation or whatever it is you want to do, and do it hard and do it unapologetically. Because that is how she called it, resting and rejuvenating. So you have to do that. But a really important part of being happy is being psychologically well and mentally well. So I used to cry every day till I was 25 years old because I just wanted my mother to tell me that she loved me. And I wanted my dad. To this day, when I find someone who I know knew my dad, I go to him and I just want him to tell me stories about it. Because people are like, you remind me of your dad, right? So I cried every day, and I ended up marrying an abusive man, and I was sharing this with Leslie. He took away my Olympic dreams. I'd won 4 United States championships by the time I was 23 years old. And then I won the 1989 United States Heptathlon Championship, and I retired, well, I was forced to retire by my ex-husband. So I never made an Olympic team. I was in that relationship for 6 years. I ended up having a wonderful child, so he's the child that I'm very proud of in the introduction. But he took my track dreams from me. And I had to deal, and even to this day, it's hard for me to watch track and field. Because most people, what Joetta said, she didn't make her first Olympic team until '88. I know Joetta's older than me. So she was older than 23. And And how did I live with knowing that everyone knew that I should have been great track and field, and I'm not, because I was really needy. And so and I thank God, the universe, or the source in me, puts you in positions and teaches you lessons, right? So I know that I remember when I was stuck in the shit with my ex-husband, and he was cheating on me, and he was giving me sexually transmitted diseases, and he hit me in my stomach when I was 6 months pregnant with our child. And after I had our child, he told me I was fat, I was used goods, nobody would ever date me. I've been the same, okay, so I think I weigh like maybe 10 pounds more now than I did in college, but for the most part, I've been this size and smaller. So unless I was on crack or something, I'm not fat. But he had me convinced that I was fat. And so I did a lot of things until I figured out how to learn myself. So now I'm a diva, if you can't tell. I wear sparkly lipstick. I'm currently on the school board in Houston. I used to be on city council in Houston, so I was on city council for 4 years. I was on the State Democratic Executive Committee for 4 years, and I'm now on the school board for 4 years, and baby, I can't wait to get off. But there were things I went in to go fix, I fixed them. There's a season for everything, right? Then I found out I'm lesbian. I figured it took me a long time to figure that out too, so I'm an older, aware lesbian. I tried to date men, didn't work for me. But, and then I was concerned about that because I didn't realize that until I was elected. In the black community, homophobia is real. And I'm extremely popular in the black community. So I was closeted because I was afraid I was gonna lose votes. When I decided to just kick the door open, my girlfriend and I get invited everywhere, even with preachers. I'm like, but when you vote last week? And so I just believe that you have to figure out who the hell you are and be your true, authentic self, and then you will be a boss. I remember when I cut my hair off, because I was tired of trying to look European. I'm not, I'm descended from Africa. Someone was talking about, I got real nappy hair. It's strong, it breaks cones. I was tired of getting relaxers, my scalp burned, and I just decided to cut my hair off because I was tired of it. And it took me a while to get used to it, but I walk like I own it. Now everybody's like, oh my God, your hair looks great. I love your hair. And it's funny, I have a peanut shaped head. You don't find these things out until you cut all your hair off. But I remember one of my good friends in high school came up to me after this guy I was dating. I said I was gonna cut my hair. For whatever reason, they didn't think I was gonna do it. And I did it. He came to take me out on a date, and he said, you cut your hair? And I was like, yeah, I did. And he said, but you were so pretty with hair. And I said, I'm pretty with hair.
The outline's the outline, but the back of the outline, here's another really easy way to get your 30-minute, Joanne, fit and focused. Well, this came over. Fit, financially fit, physically fit and focused, okay? Think about what your goals and priorities are. Again, this is the guy to do. You're gonna go home, you're gonna talk to your kids, you're gonna talk to your significant other, you're gonna talk to whomever. This is a tool that you can use to help facilitate conversations, okay? This is a really important tool that we use in our practice because people are so busy, they're doing stuff, they meet at our office, they start talking about what they're gonna talk to us about on the elevator up to the fourth floor in our building, all right? So keeping conversations going with people that, your teammates in your home, okay? So the power of compounding, we talked a little bit more. Okay, so I've been doing this for 35 years. I call myself the financial fraud line. Did any of you ever watch Hogan's Heroes? Yeah. The fraud line? No, okay? So it's very easy for me to stand here and say, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you must do this, you must do that. The real world doesn't work that way. So you have to be able to say no with confidence. Body language, like you really, in your heart of heart, in your stomach, you really believe this. But you're going to be creating change. You're going to be disrupting things. people don't like disruption. They just want their lives to kind of go simply as it is. So what you have to do is you have to be able to suggest alternatives, okay? So, I mean, you think of like the silly things that people buy at Christmas, okay? I have 13 nieces and nephews. They're all older, right? Every year I'm like, oh, should I give them something, give them a gift card or Zelda night? I'm not doing that anymore, right? What I did two Christmases ago is I gave them all a note and I said, let's do a CYOE. CYOEs, create your own experience. So instead of me just giving them money, I wanted them to pitch me. What do you want to do? Aunt Kate will do stuff with you. Aunt Kate's fun. It's a proven fact. Sally, click here. We can talk about Camp Kate. But anyway. So what I did, though, is I put a deadline on it. I gave it to them on December 25th of 2017. And I said, we have to do this by next December 31st. It's not like an open-end thing. Like, hit me up anytime you want me to take you someplace. Because I wanted to motivate them. I want to put a kind of a deadline. So just, be creative. I mean, we're all extremely creative in this room. And the other thing is that, just like if you're training for, a race, a marathon, this really is a marathon, okay? Your financial lives are really a marathon. Get trained partners. You're all here with friends, you're meeting friends. Part of your 30 minutes a week could be you could set up a group text chat and say, all right, here's what I spent 5 minutes on. It was fascinating. I took Lola up and I went onto Google and I learned about Investopedia and I read articles on power compound. Get training partners, because you don't want to do this. You can't really do this alone, especially if you're going to be disruptors and creating change. Okay, so
the next topic is time is on your side. Who here knows some things that they wish they knew in college, in high school, back in the day? Yeah? Me too. I used to get really down on myself when thinking right now in my career, I'm like, man, if I knew this 10 years ago, things would be so different. And it's like you can't go back in time, right? So what you can do is address what you have right now and adjust the time and implement that knowledge right now. So in terms of timing, yesterday was probably the best time to start saving and start taking care of your retirement and adding more if you're already doing it. But if not yesterday, then today, right? Today is still a good time. It's better than tomorrow. So it's really, really, really important that you don't dwell on what you haven't done. You just really focus on what you should do right now. All we have is today, right? Nothing is promised. So if you can start setting up everything for today and making sure that your tomorrow is taken care of and you're not a burden to somebody else tomorrow, you're not looking for somebody else's assistance later, you're taking care of things now, and then it's wonderful for you. And we kind of talked about the timing with the Tale of Two Sabers. The earlier person ended up with more assets, with more resources. And early could be right now. This could be the start of that for you. So timing, the whole timing concept, you don't really need more than just knowing that it's today. Like start today. And it's like Kate was saying, it's not just, you don't have to feel overwhelmed about it. There's so many tools, and we're going to talk about some of the different apps and the things that are available to people now, free of charge. You don't even need to look very far than the App Store or the Google Play Store to be able to start taking advantage of the different things that you can do to start getting your financial house in order today.
So with this time on your side thing, again, I'm going to go back to something you've already seen, okay? The Tale of Two Sabers. Clearly, Anna had time on her side. Sean put in 3 times the amount that she put in. She had a third more than him, or he had 2/3 less than what she had. Okay? So this power compounding, time on your side is really important. But there's something else that we want to show you. And who thinks the stock market's going to go up in the next 6 months? Who thinks it's going to go down in the next 6 months? What about the next 6 years? What do you think is going to happen? It's going to go down? Okay, so it's going to do something. Okay?
It's going to go in some direction.
But let's say we're really focused on longer term goals. And for longer term goals for some of you could be younger kids or grandkids. You're throwing money into 529s. That power of compounding can be really significant. Okay. Your 401ks at work. How many people have a pension? I know there's some teachers here in the room, but okay, how many people have a defined benefit pension? Meaning you know when you retire you're going to get X number of dollars a month for you and your life. All right, so maybe we have 14% of the room. That means 85% here, we are responsible for our financial security. You know, in our last third of our lives, let's call it that. So, if you do systematic investing, you know, putting money in your 401k, right? Maxing it out. Okay, the feds just came out. The max you can put in now is $26,000 starting in 2020. It's 17.5 with I think it's 17.5 with regular contributions plus a catch-up. Now, for a lot of people, they're going, $25,000 a year for my 401k. That's like $2,000 a month. Maybe you can't do it right now. Okay, but our marketplace right now, our economy, employers need good employees. Which means, what does that mean? They want to keep you. What does that mean? You're getting pay increases. Okay, so if you get that 3% increase, it's about keeping up with inflation. Instead of putting it in your pocket, if you're putting 6% into your 401k, because that's the amount that they're matching you on, all right, put in 9%, right? So your paycheck, your take-home paycheck will still be the same, but you have more money going into things for the future. Okay, so this whole thing about, you know, the stock market, I want you to go to our color chart. Now, are there any chemistry or physics professors here? Okay. What does this look like? Periodic table. Okay. What does it also look like? It looks like a quilt. So as financial educators, our job is to kind of take things that can be really intimidating and breaking it down into smaller bite-sized pieces that you can grasp, that you're not going to be intimidated. You're going to be like, forget them. They said 30 minutes a week. I started reading Barron's. I don't know what that language means. Okay, but this is pretty simple. What this is showing is over the last 20 years, these are different asset classes. Stocks, bonds, international, small cap. And you can just see, the green here, bottom performers become top performers. Top performers become bottom performers. I can tell you that, I couldn't even tell you what the market did yesterday. Okay, I'm a financial advisor who managed $400 million in assets. But honestly, I don't really care. Because I know that long term, with diversification, okay? So these orange boxes, that's showing a diversified portfolio. With a diversified portfolio, you're not going to get all the peaks, and you're not going to get the valleys. And when you do it that way, you know what it does? It keeps you in the game. You're not going for the home runs, because you know those guys that get all the home runs, they get a lot of strikeouts, right? So having diversification is really, really important. Time on your side. I'd like you to flip to the back side of this. This is actually, I think, a little bit more fascinating. Okay? So, who was investing back in 2008? Okay? So back then they used to say, in 2008, a 401k became a 201k. Because markets went down about 40% from peak to valley. Okay, so if you look at the peak in August of 2007 to the bottom, March of 2009, your money went down quite a bit. If you stayed the course, said, I don't need this money. If you stayed the course and just kept on putting money in your 401k and stayed with a good asset allocation and took on risk, you got really rewarded. Okay. Now, how is that rewarded? Let's look at this. Okay, this is kind of easy. Okay, so the very, very bottom one, cash. This is showing over the last 20 years. Cash has paid about 0.6%. I mean, have you checked your bank statements? What do you get in your bank statements? zero, loose ends, okay? There are high-yield, FDIC insured savings accounts that you can find online, and they're paying 1.8% right now. Right? So if you're sitting with a lot of what I call liquid money, money that you want for the emergency fund, for any big ticket expenses that are coming up, okay, you should really go online and look. Goldman Sachs has a subsidiary called Marcus. You can have it over there. You have what's that like called? There's a whole bunch.
It's like 2.1 or something like that.
Yeah, rates are going down. The Fed's lowering rates, so rates will be lower. Some of those high yield money markets are paying 2.3% 6 months ago, but rates are lower now. Okay, so think about a low hanging fruit for you. I'm telling you to invest 30 minutes a week. Go online, look what your statement is. And you're like, wow. Then Google and see high yield money markets. You set an account online, they pull the money, and like that, you're getting a positive return, so much better in a very short period of time, taking on zero risk, as long as you keep it under $250,000, because that's what FDIC insures you. Okay. So what I really wanted, for this, this goes back, 20 years. So 20 years means this was the dot-com crash, 2000, 2001. Okay. Then we had the Great Recession. Now let me tell you, 2000, 2001. We actually had 3 down years. We had down in 00, down in 01, down in 02. First time since the Depression, since the 30s. So it was a 70-year period of time that we had 3 consecutive down years. And it was really ugly right here. True story. I bring some friends to a Rutgers football game back in 2008, and then in the February of 2009, I bring them to a Rutgers basketball game. And here's what they said to me. You got a lot rare. Because, I lived right next door to the highway. Okay, and I would walk to work knowing that it was down 7% Germany. I was like walking the battle. But we didn't lose a single client. Not only they just didn't leave us, but they did not bail out because they had a plan. Now here's the plan. There's people in the room that are much closer to retirement than people that are mid-career. If you are going to be using any of your money in the next 3 to 5 years, you need to get that saved. How do you know how much you have to have saved? Well, you've done. You're spending something. If you need $60,000 a year and you're going to get 20 from Social Security and something from something else, all right, you need $40,000. 40,000 times 5 years, $200,000. Keep it really safe. Laddered CDs. And what it does is it gives the rest of the money a chance to grow and get that power compound. Okay.
Okay, so protecting your identity online. Does everyone know about Experience, different online protection, Experience, the credit company. Also, Credit Card has an online protection thing. Basically, and it also matters the tools that you use. Some institutions are not as safe as others. They don't take cybersecurity as seriously as others. So just make sure that when you're working with these different institutions and the different places that you're keeping your money, you make sure that they have a priority and a commitment to cybersecurity, because identity theft is real. Has anybody been a victim of identity theft? I have. Yeah. Right? It could be, most of the time they end up giving you your money back. All the time they end up giving you your money back. But the stress of going through identity theft, I had someone purchase something on my card for almost $4,000 or $5,000, and just the time it took just to resolve that, and the things that had to be on hold because of that. You don't want to find yourself in that situation. So make sure that the banks that you're using, where you're keeping your money, and then you're using the different tools like Experian, identity theft. I know at Morgan Stanley, cybersecurity is of the utmost importance. So our stuff are like vaults, you cannot crack it. It's very difficult. So make sure that the organizations that you're working with and the places you're keeping your money have that same level of commitment to cybersecurity and making sure that your assets and your resources are in a safe place.
And how would you know that?
Well, you can. For us, it's like if you go to our website, it's like front and center. Cybersecurity is right there, and it talks about all the different things
that we do. Look at the websites of the banks that you work with. Whatever bank it is, whatever institution it is, see how front and center cybersecurity is and what exactly they're offering. I know one of the things that we offer as the client is you have the experience of identity protection service. It just comes with being a client. I'm sure other banks and other firms do the same thing, but just make sure that it's almost like you're hiring these banks to do something for you, right? They're working for you. So it's very important that they have all the features that you require in cybersecurity. Identity theft protection should be part of that.
So I wrote down this name, Adam Levin. Follow him on Twitter. Okay. He has a book called Swiped: How to Protect Yourself in a World Full of Scammers and Identity Thieves. You know how like you can like follow people on Twitter, like you'll see when they post something. He's one of those people. I want to see it because I learn stuff from him all the time. Yesterday he had something about when you go into an airport and they have these charging stations. That you just put the USB port in there. You just don't do that because bad guys they throw malware on your phone. So I did a screenshot of that. I sent that to like a half a dozen friends yesterday. The whole thing with identity is you have to have good digital hygiene, right? Which means passwords and the whole password thing is a pain in the ass, right? I'm ready to go LastPass, but I'm like, what if I want to order something from Amazon on my computer at work? They're going to assign some random thing. So digital hygiene is really important. Follow Adam. You'll see stories of and it's going to motivate you to change your behavior. Okay. All right. So we got the 5-minute signal. We actually have till 11:15. And it's 11:05. Just saying. The guy in the back of the room is trying to tell us what to do. That's that.
All right. So then I'll just talk about the different tools then.
Yes.
Okay. So there are a lot of different tools that you can use to keep track of your network. So not just your bank account. I mean, all of the banks that I work with, I have apps for them. So everybody should be utilizing the apps on their phones, using biometrics, using your fingerprints to open them, if you can. But there's three that I wanted to make sure that you knew about. So Mint is an awesome
Anybody
app.
using Mint.com?
Yeah. Everybody should use Mint. It's really good, very educational, and it's also a functional tool, just helping you know where you stand financially. It's a really, really great tool, and it's free. Another one that I use is Acorns. Does anybody use Acorns? Let me tell you about Acorns. It's awesome, right? So Acorns used to be this, it's a savings tool. It lets you save without even thinking about it. So anytime you swipe your card, it'll round up the purchase to the nearest dollar. I have mine on 2x. At one point, I was really ambitious. I had it on 3x. But it would take all of that money and put it in an account for me. So at one time, I just opened up my account and saw that I had money there, and I just put that in my 401k. In my IRA. But it basically helps you save without even thinking about it, and it costs $1 to use a month. It's so worth it. Bank of America used to do it. They used to do a program called Keep the Change. Yeah. They don't do it anymore, as far as I know. So when I saw Acorns, I was like, this is awesome, because those monies add up. Since I've been saving for a year on Acorns, I think I've saved up $1,500 that I would not have put away by myself if I had to, right? So it's just very, very helpful. And then the third one is, I just found out about this. It's called Albert. It's like a personal financial concierge. Also very interesting. I haven't had as much experience with it, but the reviews on it are really great, and people who do use it speak very highly of it. It helps you with budgeting. So what we're talking about in terms of writing it down, you should still use the paper to write it down, because what gets written gets done. What gets written gets remembered. But you can also use technology to assist you to meet your financial goals.
Excuse me. What was the last one that you did?
Albert. It's called Albert. The app has a bow tie, so it's almost like your financial butler. Yeah.
So the man's name, Albert, A-L-B-E-R-T?
Yes, that's the third app.
All right, so we have a few minutes for Q&A. We'd like for you to give us some feedback. We have a feedback form on the back. I suspect, based on the size of the crowd, Joetta's going to invite us again back next year. So we'll start with you.
So I have a question regarding the IRA. Is there a limit of how much you make, of whether or not you can contribute to an IRA?
Yeah, so the question was, is there a limit to how much you can make to put in an IRA? So you have to have what's called earned income, which means, something you're getting a W-2 or you're doing consulting work, 1099. So the max that you can put in is, I think it's $5,500 if you're below age 50, and they have a $1,000 catch-up after that. What's that?
I think it was 6,000.
Yeah, starting in 2020. Okay.
No, but the amount that you make, your income, your personal income, is there if you make over $200,000?
Everybody, if you have earned income, can fund an IRA, whether or not it's deductible, meaning you're going against your taxes. Okay. But I have to tell you, even if it's not deductible, throw the money in, because you get that tax-deferred compounding. I like to explain IRAs and 401ks and 403bs as an umbrella. And what that umbrella does is it shelters the investments underneath it from any type of current taxation. Okay? Yes?
I have a question regarding life insurance versus 529 college plan for young children. Like at the state of my life, mine are lives, we're doing a permanent life insurance, for the death benefit as well as living benefits for the future versus a college fund.
All right, I'm going to be really honest and really clear. The question is, should you use life insurance as an investment vehicle for kids' college?
Well, no, I don't mean.
And retirement.
Intended for college, or for retirement, or for just a safe place to have money in the future.
Is there anybody here that is in the business of selling life insurance? Good. Okay. So, permanent life insurance, the advisor that sells that to you, they make unbelievable commissions on it. First year, the premium's $5,000, you're getting like $4,000. Next year, the premium's $5,000, you get like $3,500. So you don't start building up cash value for a really long time. There's a saying in our world called buy term and invest the rest. For term insurance, right? You can get like $1 million of term insurance for $700 a year for 20 years. You want to protect your kids in the event that you and your husband should pass away. So I'm a big believer, a lot of you have life insurance through work. You can buy additional life insurance, but people change jobs and you may become an entrepreneur and you don't have life insurance. So, really consider getting term insurance. It's very inexpensive and it can really take care of a potential disaster to the family down the road. By the way, we're both licensed to sell all kinds of insurances. And I have used it in certain situations, but not for younger families. Kind of calling me young. Yeah, Tina.
Okay, so speaking of insurance, for the older folks, you think about long-term care insurance. What are your thoughts on that versus just building up a savings account yourself?
Okay, so the question is, for people that are, maybe their traditional insurance needs of, mortgage is paid off, kids are educated, what do you do next? So a big risk that everybody has is their later years of their life being able to take care of themselves from a health standpoint. Long-term care insurance is a potential solution. It's really hard to get the old type of traditional long-term care because the insurance industry realized that, we messed up so much with the actuaries. So they don't really, like Joetta might be able to get long-term care insurance. A couple of years ago, I applied for it, look at me, right? And I was denied. I'm like, what are you talking about, right? So anyway, some people have enough resources that they can kind of self-insure. There are types of life insurance products that are called hybrid policies, that it's a life insurance with a long-term care rider attached. It's a little complicated, you have to have a conversation.
Ladies today, my name is Iris Novas-Cooney. I'm a community health education consultant for Horizon and Health, and it is my privilege to be here in front of all these amazing women. Every year, this is like my fourth year coming, and every year I feel that all of the energy and the vision, it is palpable, it is infectious, and it really does recharge for the type of work that I do. And I feel that I am learning from all of you, not just me teaching, but learning from every woman, because everyone here really does amazing work. And I wanted to share my area of expertise. As a health educator, our role is to go around this beautiful whole state and educate folks. Actually, the population that we serve is the most needy, the most vulnerable amongst us. And they really do suffer from many chronic illnesses that's generational, right? So our job is to really help educate and help them advocate for themselves, for their families, in order to empower them to a healthier whole life and healthier communities at that. So today, we're going to focus how we, people in service, at whatever capacity that you do it, can better fuel ourselves through a healthy stress management. We do, as business women, do take it on all, right? Wife, parent, in business, community, you name it, we take it on, right? But we also have to refuel ourselves. We are beings of energy. We give it out and we receive it. And the more in tune you are with that energy, we need to focus that energy into good, right? So what you put out can be most effective. And it's not going to be perfect every time. It is a process, right? And it is a practice. I'm still learning every day, and I'm 42.
Today.
Every day.
Today.
Oh, today. Yeah. So, hey, thank you. But it is a practice that we do every single day. At any moment, consistently, that reaffirmation. So today we're going to learn a little bit of etiology, right? How stress impacts the body. The more we understand how our bodies respond biologically, the more we are empowered to change those behaviors into a healthy form of energy, okay? We're also going to learn how to understand those consequences of stress and tools that we can implement every day in order to help keep ourselves healthy and model those behaviors outward, not only to your family, to your partner, to your neighbors, to your extended family, to the community, because it is a ripple effect. We want to model what we want to see our daughters do for themselves, or our sons do for themselves, right? We are responsible for that. And then discovering coping mechanisms that keep refueling us. So in a space of well-being, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, wellness and well-being, because that's like a catchword nowadays, right? Everything is around wellness and being healthy, right? But truly getting into the underbelly of that, understanding it, and then implementing it into daily practice is what makes the difference. So the brain acts as our main function that instructs the rest of our bodies, normal functions, right? We don't need to tell our colon to digest. We don't need to tell the kidneys to filter our blood, right? The brain is in charge of telling everything in our mechanisms to do its job, right? And within that practice, hormones are released. The imbalance of consistent stress, negative stress, can really negatively impact the body today and long term. So there's different types of stress. Stress can be defined as a brain's response to any demand. It's the way that we as human beings have survived. Many things can trigger stress, including changes. Now, is change static? No, it's inevitable. We're experiencing constant change, right? Whether our kids are getting bigger, the demand is changing. The stress doesn't change, is the response. Our response is what can change. There's positive and negative stress, right? The type that motivates us to do, or the type of stress that I felt right before coming in front of all of you, right? Where I just want to get in my car and go. And then there's the minimal stress, reoccurring, constant, that stress that you feel up in your shoulders and in your neck and your joints, and that motivation when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I really don't want to get up. I'm so tired, I don't feel rested, right? that constant negative stress does negatively impact our well-being as well. So we can think of wellness as 3 pillars, right? Like a triangle. There's physical health, mental health, and physical health. Each one supports the other. Now, they're not always going to be perfect. There's going to be times where one is a little bit inclined over the other. However, if we understand our body's response and where we need to fuel, we can also help keep that balance. So it's not a perfect science, it's being mindful and being self-aware, and in those practices, fueling those physical, mental, and emotional spaces so that you can put out positive output. Does everybody follow me so far? Great. So routine stress, right? This is ordinary work, family responsibilities, although this also varies. When there are job insecurities or housing insecurities, these are the folks that we have the privilege, our team here today, have the privilege of servicing, right? So we may be worried about our kids using the phone too much, or they got into a fight this morning, or this one's having a hard time in geometry, right? Normal parent-child struggles, right? But then there are other parents that not only are they worried about their kid's geometry class, or perhaps they feel like their kid is getting bullied at school, but they're also worried about paying rent, or insecurity as far as just welfare security, meaning you walk out of your home and you're not afraid of like being mugged or being shot, right? So this is added stress. Now there's a really great book by Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, who studied extensively on the adverse childhood experience and the negative effects of trauma, and how that generationally impacts people. Now, when I heard her speak, my head exploded. I heard her speak a couple of years ago, and I just thought, oh, it's simple. It's nature versus nurture. It's pretty distinct and separate. No. So the concept of adverse childhood experiences dictates that generational trauma can transcend and change at a DNA level the body, at a cellular level, from trauma. Okay? So, for instance, a pregnant mom is in her 2nd trimester, and she is in a domestic violence scenario. She has nowhere to go. She is not seeking prenatal care, right? So she is in a constant heightened stress. What do you think is happening, not only to her body, but to that baby? Yeah. Do you think that baby is forming and developing as healthy as a baby that is not in an abusive, the mother is not in an abusive relationship, or has any type of housing insecurity or food insecurity? Right? Generational trauma and negative effects of trauma on the human body. I thought that was fun, but I'm also like a nerd. So, yeah. So in reading more, it helps me understand better that when communicating health-related anything, right, especially as it pertains to stress, the way we communicate with a person that has come from that experience, right? Because ACEs, it's referred to, adverse childhood experiences, is not just socioeconomic. It's any trauma. You can be really wealthy and have a parent with substance use disorder, right? Or be very wealthy and have a parent that may have untreated and undiagnosed mental health issues, bipolar disease, right? So it's the effects of any type of trauma and the person being physically changed by it. How their risk of conditions are greater from those untreated traumatic experiences. So the stress hormones, epinephrine, adrenal, norepinephrine, and cortisol, obviously comes from different parts of the body. The hormones are produced by glands carried through the bloodstream that affect activities of organs in the body. They're meant to regulate what organs do what, and they also trigger that fight or flight response in the body. So they're supposed to be there. This is what sustains us. This is how our survival mechanism. When it becomes harmful is that persistent release of these hormones, right? In either low dosage, right? I'm in an abusive relationship with my spouse and I'm afraid that he's gonna hit me. Am I in constant heightened alert? Yeah. Or I feel threatened at work and sexually harassed. When you go to work, that sick, has anyone experienced that? Like when you work in a toxic environment in the past, right? Where you like pull up to the parking lot and you're just nauseated by the whole experience. Every woman in here has had that experience at some point or another, right? Or when you're walking somewhere, the whole cat, what is that? Cat calls, right? It brings you that like nauseated feeling. This is a response of survival for us. Because one, we're not welcoming that type of response, right? Or experience, especially when you're in a working environment or living environment. So we're in a state of heightened alert. Over time, that negatively affects our body. It brings up your blood pressure, your breathing heavier, your heart rate changes, right? Now these extremes vary. The response that you get when you're at a red light and somebody like hits you from behind, you feel that immediately. Cold sweat, your heart is pounding out of your chest, right? You're breathing labor. But that constant uncomfortable sensation also releases hormones that over time are not supposed to be released at that constant level. Do you think that maybe that's why many folks within minority groups have high tendency of high blood pressure, high tendencies of obesity, high tendency of diabetes, high tendencies of untreated cancers or unidentified cancers, right? We're all women except the two gentlemen in the back, right? Every time we go to the doctor, right, and we complain about something, it's heard as that, as a complaint. Right? But in reality, the way women manifest conditions, right, and symptoms vary from men. A heart attack in a woman looks very different sometimes than it does in a man, right? So we need to learn to pay attention. So epinephrine and adrenal are commonly known as that fight or flight hormone or response. Like I stated, an irregular, constant release can negatively affect the body. So these are all like the explanations of the biology of it. But negative effects is the raising of your blood pressure. Now, normally, who can tell me, not like people from Horizon, who can tell me what a healthy blood pressure is? Say it out. 120 over 80, right? That is what we're told as the norm, and it should be. But everyone, please listen. 120 over 80 is a mean. It's an average, okay? Everyone in here, if you look around, everyone here is different, okay? 120 over 80 is not necessarily the goal for each and every one of us. Okay? Who can determine what's your healthy blood pressure? And please don't say your grandmother or your neighbor. Who determines what your healthy blood pressure is? Correct. Can we say that all together? Your doctor. Yes, your doctor. Why? Because for some women, 120/80 is hypertension, is high blood pressure. Okay? Blood pressure health is determined on your height. There's so many factors, right? Your height, your weight, your age, right? So for some women, like myself, 120/80 is too high because my norm is 90/68, right? So for folks to go and get it tested and say, oh, it's 120/80, no big deal. No, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. Know your health, the measure of health. So if you are experiencing, now, again, when we go to the doctor, it varies, right? You already have a little bit of anxiety because you're at the doctor's, right? But it'll be different, like if you're at the supermarket or picking up your kid's prescription or your husband's prescription at the pharmacy and they're taking blood pressure, right? Are you like riddled with anxiety at the pharmacy? No, right? Probably should take it at the mall or like happiest and shopping. It's great. Or you're having coffee with a friend. Take your blood pressure often. See your doctors, even if it's uncomfortable. Nobody's like, skipping to get a pap smear, but it's a necessary thing. It is. We don't always like going to the dentist, but it's a necessary thing because teeth are important. Okay, healthy gums at that. So we can reframe the impact of stress on our bodies and think of it like this can likely make me sick. Once you understand to pick up the signs in your body normally, what are normal stressors making my body do? What are drastic stressors? How is my body responding to that? How am I reacting? Pay attention and then seek the proper help. Negative effects of persistent stress or mismanaged stress can provoke a weakened immune system. Weakened immune system makes you more vulnerable to disease anywhere. So not just like the common cold or flu. Ladies, get vaccinated for the flu, by the way, please. But also, it can also heighten the chances if you have genetic factors like a family history of chronic illnesses, your risk shoots up. Okay? It can promote negative behavior. So if you have a tendency to have like addictive tendencies, unmanaged or mismanaged stress can also lead to negative behaviors like smoking, like misuse of alcohol, drugs, and just negative at-risk behaviors. So eustress is what motivates us, right? It gives us the boost to it gives us like a spark to keep us moving forward. But negative emotional signs of persistent stress can make us irritable, sadness, depressed, boredom. Does any of this sound familiar? Anxiety, forgetfulness, or denial, right? Now, when we think of this, we have certain times of years, certain times of the year where like the reduced sunlight kind of makes us feel the blues, right? Around this time in the winter, right? We're not exposed to the sun. Anytime that you are vitamin deficient, you're not getting the proper nutrients in your body, you also feel a negative response.
From this slide, from this card slide, get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see.
Here you go, thank you. But basically, what again we're talking about is don't let anyone, even if it's your parent, don't let anyone, be careful what you're doing with your children Be careful that you're not destroying their dreams. Be careful what you say about a person who is dreaming around you and they trust you enough to share their dream. How do you enhance it? How do you motivate it? How do you help them continue along pursuing that dream? As always, I always talk to you about influencers, people who are from a biblical setting. As Joetta always says, how can you bring the Bible in without being churchy? So this is my biblical side. This is how we bring this in without being churchy. Biblical women of influence. Are you a powerful influencer? How does that work for you? I heard some absolutelys. Good. And I always like to talk about the persuasion, the power of persuasion that we as women have. Now, these women who I've selected are powerful, but powerful in a way that created negative situations. Okay? So they were powerful in their influence, but look what happened. We started with Eve, persuaded Adam about being empowered or equal to God. Hey, you want to be equal to God? This is what we're going to do. We're going to bite this apple, and guess what? The fall of man. And the punishment didn't happen until Adam took that bite. But Eve was the one who persuaded him. Come on, let's do this. Because of the power that you will be able to attain. So she used her power of persuasion to convince him, come on, you can do this. And we will be equal to God. Bathsheba, physical attractive mating at the top of her roof, attracted David. King David has all of these wives and concubines, but yet he wanted one more. She knew what she was doing. To the top of the roof to bathe with nothing on. David is just so happened to be on the top of his roof or looking out over his kingdom saying, that looks attractive. I think I'm interested in that. So again, power of persuasion in a negative way. Bathsheba became queen, and David got into a lot of folly as a result of it. Jezebel used her wickedness, and King Ahab was attracted to her wickedness. In fact, she was so wicked, King Ahab, he had this, there was another gentleman who had a lot, beautiful yard. And he wanted it. He was like, I want that yard. He offered the guy money. He offered him, and the guy said, no, this is my inheritance. You can't have this. And he was like, but I want it. And he ached in his whole soul. He was so heartbroken that he couldn't have it. So he went and told his wife. He says, why are you so upset? He's like, I want this property. And he won't give it to me. I offered him money, I've done everything. So the wife had him killed. She did. She had him killed. So the problem was out the way. Once she had him killed, the king went to go own the property, to take over the property. And he was met by a prophet, said, if you take this property, your life will be destroyed. So he left it alone. But she persuaded him, went beyond persuasion. She killed for him to give him what he wanted. So think about it. If a woman's going to kill to give you what you want, how is that man going to live now? He's probably going to live in fear for the rest of his life over this woman. All right. Next we have Vashti. Vashti, one thing I do like about Vashti kind of started the hashtag #MeToo movement. Because what would happen, she would always be brought out before the kings whenever her husband had a party. He would have a party and she was a beautiful woman and he would have her display, her beauty displayed among all the other people. They would grab at her, they would just look upon her beauty, but they were drunk. So they were basically trashing her. And so this time she says, guess what? I'm not coming out there. I'm not doing it. I don't want to be a part of this. And because she didn't want to be a part of this, she was never seen before the king again. Probably she died. Probably had her killed. But again, she had a power of influence. And the influence, what frustrated the king was all the women may do this now. So they were afraid that this was going to change the way a woman thinks about her husband, the way a woman thinks about herself. And as a result of that, they were like, destroy her. Because she's going to start a movement in our kingdom that we can't control. What is that movement? Women are going to be empowered. That was the movement. So ladies, start a long time ago. We have been trying to be empowered for a long time. And guess what? We are. We always have been empowered, but it's up to you. So again, talking about our circles of influence, who do we allow to influence? This one, I love this little video. And even in our influences, even in pursuing our dreams, we're gonna have distractions. We're gonna have distractions, we're gonna have delays, we're gonna have detours. This little distraction is absolutely adorable. She is trying to play Hey Google or Hey Alexa, and her voice does not quite pick up. So she goes, Hey Alexa, will you play Baby Shark? And for some reason, it's just not picking up. The Baby Shark is not happening. So she tries it again, she tries it again. By the fourth time, she turns around and she goes, Hey Mommy, tell Alexa, Baby Shark. And so, of course, what does the mom do? Stops whatever she's doing, turns around and says, Alexa, play Baby Shark. And as soon as the mom says it, the little girl looks at the mom, looks at the Alexa and goes, and the music goes dun 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 dun. She turns around, gives her mom the biggest smile, and was like, yeah! It's like, Mom, you did it. This little girl is actually on the Today Show because of this. And she turns around and she's elated. And as a parent, how can you not give your child what they need in order to be successful, but yet hold on to your dreams? All right? I told my children, I think one was in middle school, one was in high school. I said, hey guys, I think I'm gonna go back to college and get my master's. They looked at me and were like, you're gonna go back to school? And I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about it, but it's gonna be a sacrifice for everybody. Can everybody handle that? And they were like, well, what are the sacrifices? I was like, well, I have class on Wednesday night. It's a 4-hour class, so we're probably gonna have pizza. Oh, that's good. That's a great sacrifice. We can do that. We can have pizza. You know, I'm gonna need time to study. So some of the things that I can't do, I'm gonna need you all to be a little more responsible. But it was a collective effort. Let's share. Let's talk. Let's give them some avenues of responsibility, because guess what? They can handle it. We don't have to do everything, and we always take on the role of doing everything. If you have a spouse, share with your spouse, hey honey, I'm thinking about doing this. How can we as a family make sure this works so I can still pursue my side of what I'm trying to do? We have to communicate that this is important to us and we want to do this. Our dreams are important. So what keeps us from pursuing detours, distractions, delays? Be careful that you don't allow those things to stop you from pursuing what your dream is. All right, next slide. I keep trying to do a touch tone and this is not. And this goes back to the little girl. Have you become Alexa? Hey mom, can you do this? Hey mom, can you do that? Hey mom, what does this mean? Hey mom, how do you do this? Hey mom, where is this? They're always looking for something. Nobody never puts anything back, so we're always looking for something. Can we stop looking for stuff? Seriously, y'all, can we just stop looking for stuff? Hey, how much time did you have to do this? Or how much time, Mom, do we have to do it? And hey, what is that? There's bundles of questions, and we always take that time to give them the answers, because that's who we are. Create your next cycle chart, and you can share this with somebody next to you. Where are you on that cycle chart that I showed? Age-wise and goals or dream accomplished. Where am I in this role? When am I happiest? Talked about being happy, being joyful, being excited about something. I've heard that in the last 3 sessions. I am at my best when I am, what is it that you're doing? What makes you be at your best? When are you at your happiest? My goals for my next cycle are, these are the next 3 things I want to accomplish when I move into my next 7-year cycle. What does that look like for me? I am in control of my own destiny by completing the following steps. Knowing my purpose. Ms. Joetta talked about that earlier this morning. Do I know why I was created? Do I know why I'm on this earth? Do I know why I'm here? And if I understand that, then I'm going to connect my purpose with destiny, and that's going to result in fulfilling my dreams. Okay? Owning my gift and operating it, we all have been gifted. We all have a measure of gifts and talents that we have, but do you know what it is? All right? I'm a coach, a motivator, an influencer. That's what I've been doing all of my life. From that time when I told you, I walked into my family's bedroom, I'm the teacher. This is what we're going to do. So, Am I happy and elated while I am doing it? And am I the it factor? It's important because if you're the it, guess who everybody has to go to? They have to go to you. So own your purpose, own your destiny. Know the information that you need to know in order to make you that person that everybody goes, I need to bring that person on board. There's certain people sit at the table, and they're only the people that people feel they are the expert in that area to sit at the table. So spend time making sure you're the expert that can have the knowledge that people want to invite to that table to be a part of the conversation. And this next class says find another person and compare your cycles. You can do that amongst yourself. Where are you? What's your next cycle? Do you have similar goals? And that's just, again, the opportunity to share in a positive space. This is a positive space because everybody in this room is trying to gain something, to be empowered, get more knowledge, get more experience so that you can continue following your purpose and your dream. So find the right group of people to share that knowledge, to share that space. People who may be pursuing not necessarily the same thing, but maybe entrepreneurship, maybe a good business plan. So you want to have conversations with those type of people who are not going to say, nah, we don't want you here, or nah, we don't think you're capable, but people who will also enhance what your dreams and your desires are. Self-preservation, again, how do I protect myself? How do I make sure that I'm in a good space so that I can help others? How do I make sure I'm in a good space so that I can move my own agenda? And it goes back to learning how to say no. All right. When you say yes to others, make sure you are not saying no to yourself. That is so important. Because how many times do we always say, oh, sure, I'll do it. I got that. I'll take care of it. We're okay. Oh, yeah, don't worry. No worries. That's my line. No worries. I got this. I got you, girl. All of those lines, be careful. So what we were going to do, we're going to practice a little bit. Everybody here, smile and say no. Smile, shake your head, and say no. Good job. Everybody's doing well. This is a spouse one. Blow a kiss, smile, and say no. Nod your head yes, as though you're listening, and then smile and say sorry. And how about simply just saying no? We just have to learn how to do that, seriously. Planning out my dream. I'm kind of like near the last portion of this. What is my dream? What's your dream? Anybody want to share? What's your dream? Okay.
Sure, starting my dream, I guess. I'm finishing up grad school now.
Okay.
And my goal is to eventually open up my own PC company, which is less professional counseling.
Yes. Yes. We're finding out that most college students, they start to show signs of their mental health issues during their college years, between 18 and 23. And wow, on the college campus, we have so many mental health issues. So it's needed. Most of the times, your dream is not about you making money, but your dream is about fulfilling opportunities for others. And when you're fulfilling opportunities for others, the financial blessings will be restored. You're going to get that. The money will come. But awesome, awesome. Anybody else? Yes?
Well, you asked us what our dreams are?
Yeah, what's your dream?
Our dreams are to provide artists with opportunities to work. So actors and filmmakers and directors.
And that's neat. Again, it's not about you, it's about pursuing something that's going to open doors for other people. And that's what makes your dream important. That's what makes your dream necessary. That makes your dream needed. Somebody needs that to happen for them, and you are that avenue. So we can't fall asleep. We can't stop. There are people out there who need us. So our dreams need to be fulfilled so that we can enhance someone else's life. What are my resources? That's always like that first line. It's like, I have a plan. I want this to happen, but I don't have any resources. What resources are out there other than money? Other people's experiences, connecting, learning to network in a way that is effective, that is going to help you. Joetta talked about the positive cup, gaining resources from other positive people. Again, people who are successful at doing what they do. What requirements or specifications do I need to fulfill the dream? Like you were saying, I want to go to school and I need to complete this portion of it so that I now have the specifications that are needed. You know, I want to open up a building, so I need to have someone come in and inspect the building. Like the things that I don't know, how do I gain that knowledge, get that information to make sure it's taken care of? So while you think you're waiting on the money, there's so many other things that you can be doing, and trust me, that money will show up. What assistance is required? You want to look at all of that. How do I rebound if it doesn't work? And will I try it again if the way I tried to do it fails? Yes, you cannot quit. The quitting is not an option when you have a dream. That dream has to be fulfilled. That dream has to be pursued. So quitting, we can't stop. Like I said, somebody is depending on us to fulfill this dream. Questions, comments? I always give you praise break. This is time to take a break, and I give you the simple things. Take a praise break when you don't have the answer, because we don't always have the answer. Pause, put your music on, take a praise break, and refocus. If I want it, I can have it. If I need it, I can have it. It's mine. So pause and take a praise break. Take a praise break whenever you have been mistreated. You know, somebody just bashed my dream, told me it will never happen. Women can't do that, all right? We're gonna refocus and take a praise break. Take a praise break whenever you have reached your goals. Set aside some things you want to accomplish. When those things are accomplished, give yourself a praise break. Celebrate, praise break whenever you celebrate someone else. Like when Joetta has these events, I'm so excited. I'm like a kid before Christmas. Like, oh my God, she's doing it again. You know, like, Joetta, what are we doing? What are we doing? What do you need me to do? Just so excited to enjoy what she's doing, because I know this fellowship helps so many people. So it excites me. I know I'm gonna meet new faces. I'm gonna be able to empower somebody else. So I'm energized knowing that you guys are now gonna have some more tools to go help you do it, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. So celebrate somebody else. Don't be so selfish, you know, in your own dream, but celebrate what somebody else is doing and how they're accomplishing it. This is my favorite one, give myself a praise break when all the lights are green on my way to work. That just makes me happy. I'm like, yes! Even the last one, which is a left turn that I don't always get, that one, I love that one. Take a praise break whenever you get pulled over by the police because you were speeding and they're just doing their job. Yes. So don't get frustrated, don't get upset, give yourself a praise break. Now this last slide says be the boss, and in being the boss, I believe her name is Lizzo, and we have her here. This is the young lady that Joetta was talking about earlier. So if you could, I'm sorry, put this video up as we get ready to go for lunch. That's it. Question, yes, ma'am.
Are you working on your next book?
Yes. Yes, I am. All right. Thank you. As Joetta revealed her, she's yes. Thank you. You're so inspirational. You just don't know. Any other comment? Yes. How you doing? We know each other from way back.
When you finish your competitive years, how did you transition? What move did you make to transition
to where I am now? We have so many transferable skills, and I've learned to lean on those as a leader. Being the first to do everything, I was that kid. I'm going to be the first. In athletics, there are close to 80,000 negative thoughts that come into your mind every day. As an athlete, you are trained to make that negative thought a positive one. So whenever the coach says you got one more, you can't think about how your body feels. You got to figure out how am I going to get this one more done and meet the time frame that I'm asked to do it. So staying goal, setting goals and staying focused on those goals is what I transferred from my athletic world into the professional world. And people like you when you're focused. People like you when you're goal-oriented. People like you when you complete your task. You rise quickly whenever you take care of those things. So those are some of the skills that I've learned to take from my athletic world and put them into the professional world. Okay? And be happy. Yeah. I think, you know, we were out there getting our butts kicked, but we were happy doing it. Because we got to travel and do something, make a little bit of money on the side. Yeah, it was fun. So, but yeah, those are some of the things that we transferred. Thank you, good question. Anybody else?
What you said, thank you so much for sharing this. It's about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it all boils down to, is that if we change our mindset, we can accomplish anything.
Thank you. Changing our way of thinking. Scripturally transferring by the renewing of your mind. Put good things in there. If you put good things in there, Joetta talked about it again today, put good things here. Make sure you're feeding into good things. And if you're feeding into good things are going to come out. Yeah. Whatever the heart thinks or the heart wants, desires, that's what comes out. Yes?
Do you have a morning routine?
Do I have a morning routine? Yes, I do.
Are you willing to share that?
Will I share it? Yes. I start off, of course, with scriptures. And just because it feeds every aspect of me, mentally, spiritually, socially, so that my mind is set by the time I walk into the office because of what I'm dealing with. When an 18-year-old comes in and tells you they're sexually assaulted and how it occurred, that's hard stuff to deal with. So I have to be in a good mindset to tell them everything's going to be okay. We're going to get to a place of things are going to be normal for you again. So I have to be in the right mind space. So I always tell myself I go through 5 books or 5 scripture passages is pretty much what I do. So if I'm in the book of Psalms, right now I'm in Proverbs, so Proverbs, the 20th chapter, 21, 22, 23, 24, I go to 25. And so I put that in, spend time telling God thank you, because this is a day that I didn't have to see. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity. You were so good to allow me to wake up and see what you have in store for me. So that's how it starts out. And then I spend 20 minutes on my bike, because the mental, the physical, the spiritual. So I spend 20 minutes on a stationary bike, and then whisk myself out. If I'm planning dinner, I already take out what needs to be done. That goes in the crock pot, so it saves me some time. So if I'm doing dinner, then I take care of that, walk into my office, refreshed, renewed, excited for what I may have to deal with. Sometimes it's cases like that. I have 6 interns, so I get to feed into their life, and they are just so awesome. We shared yesterday, and it was amazing. They were like, "We love you." And it was just because they were dealing with situations in life that they were at a standstill. And so it's like, well, this is how we restart, reset. This is, and you know what, we're getting ready to graduate, and I don't know if we can even, I don't even know if everything I learned is gonna work. So yeah, you know exactly where they are. And it's like, just take a deep breath, calm down. There's all 650 of you are graduating, feel the same way right now. It's going to work, you're going to be okay. And then we just unpackage that. So that's that part. By the end of the day, usually I have dinner with my daughter. After we have dinner, share each other's day. The football's on. I am a huge football fan. I was very disappointed last night, but God is good. That was horrible. It was just horrible. Yeah, oh my goodness, it was just horrible. Grown men should never act like that, especially when you make that comment. Should never act like that. So anyway, I am a football fan. It's Sunday night, I'm watching football. Monday night, I'm watching football. Thursday night, I'm watching football. And after church on Sunday, I have a chair that I do. I really enjoy professional football. So that's pretty much what my day looks like.
What's your favorite oracle to do?
My favorite, I have so many. Oh, that men would praise him for his good works to the children of men. Anything that deals with worship, I am a worshiper. So all of that just connects with me. I love God. And if you, like I said, you have the opportunity to purchase the book, you will feel that in the writings and the readings. Talks a little bit about my childhood. I grew up with a family of 9. About to have a moment here. 8 sisters, 1 brother. And raised by, like I said, parents who were, my father was a pastor, my mom was a pianist. We lost our mom in October of this year. And it was rough, but we're pulling ourselves up, leaning on each other. And today is the day my father passed away 21 years ago. So, Joetta, you know you're special. Because I didn't think I'd make it through this, but God is good. So we're good. Don't y'all look at me sad. Everybody else, keep the energy going. All right.
Take some.
So, one thing that we realized as we're putting this together is that there are a lot of different names for financial advisors. There could be investment advisors, financial planners, brokers, etc. So that can get a little confusing when you may not know exactly what it is that you need and what you're looking for. So I did Google some of this. It may or may not be right, and I'm still a little confused. But financial advisor is a term that is sort of an umbrella term for anybody who's going to help you and help you to manage your financial situation. And a financial advisor could be a financial planner. It could be an investment advisor. It could be a broker. Now, sometimes there is some sort of overlap between these people. A broker might also be an investment advisor, might also be a financial planner. So you need to understand what type of service you're looking for in order to get to the right person. And a lot of times in any of these situations, and we'll go through qualifications in a little bit, you might want to look for certain designations. Like for a financial planner, if they're a certified financial planner, they will probably have a fiduciary duty to you, which means that you are the most important person to them, and they need to be looking out for your interests before their own. And we're going to talk about some of the times where they don't either. But so one of the most important things is just understanding what your needs are and what it is that you need somebody to do for you so that you can find the right person with the right qualifications to provide that information to you. So we talk trusted advisor. What does that really mean? A trusted advisor is somebody who has a subject matter expertise perhaps and is able to help you, but it's not just a one-time person who's going to help you. It's somebody who you can develop a relationship with and will help you with that one thing, but will also help you with other things in your life and try to coordinate the needs in different areas of your life. So it's not just one person, one and done, get your will done, get your taxes done. This is somebody who you're going to talk to, you're going to share more information with. And they are a source of valued advice and support. So they, like I said, they're a subject matter expert, they have training, they have experience, and they're going to be able to help you and give you really good advice. You have a trust-based relationship. That's why it's a trusted advisor. It's somebody who you do feel that you can share things with and has your best interests at heart and is not just out to make money for themselves. Although you will have to pay them, and we're going to talk about that too. Somebody who shows genuine concern for you and your family and your business and everything about you. And someone who's going to give you honest and candid advice. And that's really the most important thing about a trusted advisor, and will separate them from just your transactional professional, because they're going to be honest with you and give you advice that maybe sometimes you don't want to hear. But that's why you should trust them, because they're not going to be the yes guy for you. And as Mary is going to talk a little bit more about when you can use these trusted advisors and the types of services that they provide to you throughout your life.
Yeah, thanks. When you need a trusted advisor, well, I think my best advice for you is to start as early as possible. Don't wait. When you graduate from college, you did a great job with that, right? You start a new job. You're beginning your career, you're going to need a trusted advisor. And I'll go into more details as to the reasons why you might need one. Then I got ahead of myself there for a second. Maybe you're becoming an entrepreneur, right? The first thing you want to do is get someone on your team that can give you sound advice. If you're getting married or divorced, we're going to need some advice on that. Having children, that brings on a whole other set of reasons why you need some advice. I have 4 daughters, believe me, I know. Job changes, also starting a new business after you've been an entrepreneur for a number of years and you want to start something new. You should talk to someone about winding down the old business. Aging parents in retirement. Those are all some good reasons. So I'm going to go into some more details, give you examples of when, why you might need to talk to someone who's an advisor to help you through these times. Negotiating your salary when you're beginning your career. Maybe you were made an offer. If you have someone that you can talk to and say, they offered me this salary, is it, should I ask for more? Or maybe there's more benefits that I should really negotiate and ask for. More vacation time.
And I'm going to just stick in here that we all know that gender-based difference in compensation starts your first job when you're not negotiating your salary. And that just escalates throughout your lifetime and ends up when women are making less than men for doing the same job, partly because they don't know how to negotiate a salary. So that is a really important thing to start out with in your career.
Making retirement plan elections. When you start a new job, you have options. There's several elections you make. First of all, how much you're going to contribute, and then once you make that election to contribute the amount you're going to contribute, where are you going to invest it? There's investment options within your 401k. Managing your funds. Okay, you're making money. You have, you want to make sure that the money that you're making, your funds are working for you. Like we were talking about earlier. Don't have it just sitting, accumulating in a checking account. Making sure you're looking at it and giving you advice on other places where you can invest it. Savings, again, that goes in line with the savings. Maybe you're buying a house or a condo. You might need an attorney to help you. You definitely need an attorney to do the closing. But you also might need a tax person or advisor to say, how much can I afford? And can lay out the options for you. What kind of a mortgage can I afford? And then, of course, tax preparation, which is like what I do. When it gets a little more complicated when you start a job and you want to know, make sure you're maximizing your tax benefits at that point. Talk to you. So that's usually the intro to working with an advisor. Then when you're becoming an entrepreneur, a lawyer, you should always consult with a lawyer before you do anything formation, okay? You want to make sure even when you're on your own, you want to make sure that you have the right entity that you're using, that you're operating your business with. How many entrepreneurs do we have here in the room? I know we have a lot here today, right? Sometimes people go in and they start working on their own as a sole proprietorship. And then they go back and they get some advice from someone like, well, maybe I should be an LLC. Or if you're taking on new partners, you want to work with an attorney to make sure that you have an agreement with that partner so that when everything is good, you work out all the difficult decisions when everything is good.
Right, so take it from a forensic accountant who deals with a lot of shareholder disputes. It's really important to have an attorney help you out with those agreements, the shareholder agreements, the formation agreements when you're starting that business, because really you do want to listen, you want to pay attention to those things now, because the best agreement you can have now will help make those future disagreements, and you will have future disagreements with people you're in business with. It will help you get through them a lot easier and spend a lot less money down the road.
You want to talk about how, we're working together now, everything's great. How are we going to unwind this agreement that we have so that we're going to stop doing business together? How do we unwind it? If we want to bring on more partners, what are the parameters? Are we going to let them buy in? You need to talk about all those things ahead of time before you're faced with those decisions. Not that, when you can always go to someone when you're going through it, but it's always best to have sort of the specifics worked out ahead of time. And that's what a partnership agreement will do to you, or an LLC agreement will do for you. When you're hiring employees, you need someone to do the payroll, you need someone to advise you on the labor laws to make sure that you are in compliance with hiring new employees. Meeting the tax obligations, are you paying your sales tax? How do you pay your sales tax? Make sure you're paying your sales tax on time. Income tax obligations, and so on. Then just moving along, that's fine. You you're getting married, again, some of these are repetition. If you want to buy a house after you get married, you're going to need maybe help selling your old house. How much can I afford when you're buying a larger house? Life insurance. You touched on that too. You want to make sure when you have a partner, that you have sufficient coverage, not just life insurance. I should say insurance needs. There should be different types of insurance that you make sure that you're covered. Wills. You want to talk to someone about getting a will after you get married. Prenuptial agreements. That may be something that's important to you. An advisor can help you through that. Again, managing your funds, some help savings, and then the tax preparation, because that does change things. When you become married, when you're bringing your finances together, it's generally a good thing. You get a benefit, but you need a tax advisor to help you analyze that as well. Having children, again, more important at this point is making sure you have insurance on each other's lives. What if something happens? You want to make sure those children are cared for and their colleges are funded, and someone to kind of work through that with you. Preparing a will. Who's going to take care of the children if something should happen to either one of you, both of you, or one of you. Make sure you have that all spelled out. It's very important to do that once you have children. Start your college savings right away. It's never, believe me, I have 3 in college right now at a private school. It's never too early to start. Then buying a bigger house. You want to talk to someone about how can you manage that. And also funding needs, meaning borrowing. I didn't touch on that when we were an entrepreneur. I got ahead of myself, but a trusted advisor can help you with your financing needs. If you need to borrow money for your business or for personal reasons, you need an advisor to kind of make sure you're getting the best rates. Not putting yourself over getting into too much debt. Quickly, other things, when you change a job, again, or starting a new business, you need to, again, you might need help negotiating the salary. When you leave a job, what do you do with your accumulated retirement savings? Usually, you have to do something. You can leave it there, or you can take it out and roll it into something else. What makes the most sense given where you are? You might want to talk to someone and get some advice on that. Okay. Then deferred compensation. Some of these things, when you get a new compensation package, as you get further on in your career, you might not understand. You need someone to talk to explain all this to you. And then again, winding down the old entity when you're starting a new business, there's some specific things you need to do with the states where you're located. A lot of people don't realize that, but you definitely want to wind down the old entity properly so that it won't come back and haunt you later in your life. Okay?
I'll give you just an example of that. I was working on a matter recently where it was a shareholder dispute, but the guy on the other side had started a business with our client, and then they had some falling out, but our client had funded, had given them a lot of money to put into this business and helped him get to a point where he could then, build the business and make it better. But they had falling out, and there was nothing in writing. They didn't have a shareholder agreement. They did actually form an LLC with the state, so that was one thing. But they didn't have anything in writing, and even when they decided to split, allegedly, there was nothing in writing. And the guy on the other side was saying that our client had said, okay, you just take everything and do anything you want with it. And he started a new business and pulled everything into the new business. Never, there was never any payback to the guy who funded it all. There was never anything done properly to recognize the fact that, these assets for one business went into another business, but they did not, value them properly. They did not report it on the tax returns properly. If this guy had a trusted advisor who had been advising him through this whole time, in fact, a team, including a lawyer and a CPA, everything would have been done properly. And, now if we had, if he'd been discovered by the IRS for what had happened, he would be investigated and audited and probably have to owe taxes on what happened. But this is the type of thing that a lot of entrepreneurs entrepreneurs, they do not get the appropriate business advice from people who they, ask for advice over and over again and build this trusted advisor relationship. When you don't do that, you could end up in a bad situation with the IRS, with the state, with the federal government. So it's hard to just do it on your own. That's why you get somebody to help you out.
And I think sometimes people think they're too small.
Yes.
They don't need this help. I'm just starting out, or I'm just running a business. And when things are going well, you can't anticipate all of the challenges you might face. They usually say, form an agreement when everything's going well the first week. Don't wait, till the second week when you're already arguing with each other. But I think that one of the biggest challenges is feeling you're under the radar screen, and it's not me that you're talking to, but it's everyone.
We will address a little bit of that too.
So I just, as a show of hands, do you have trusted advisors that you like? Do you think to call people in some of these situations? Do you think you would? Most people would, right? Okay. Wouldn't it be nice to have someone though that you get to know? Like, hey, geez, I read this article, it's really bothering me. Can you explain it? Do you do that with someone that you only see one time a year, or once in a while? No. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. The importance of putting energy into finding a trusted advisor that can help you in all these situations. And I won't go through this list anymore. I feel like we're going on and on. So we'll, you get the idea, right? Does everybody get the idea? All right. Oh yeah, you have a question? I'm sorry.
Just a kind of a comment. I think that the biggest part of this is the trust part.
Yes.
And sometimes I have advisors, but sometimes I'm not sure if there's a condition behind something, or if it's really what's best for me. And
We're going to talk about that. It is a trial and error, believe me. That's why I can't stress that enough, to start early and seeking out those people. And we're going to talk about where's some places you can meet these people or find these people. We're going to get there. Okay. Oh. Isn't that perfect?
Perfect timing.
I know. Thank you for that segue. So where can you find this trusted advisor? I mean, one of the first places that we can start is, this is a lot of people start in my practice. The children of my existing clients the parents will say, call Mary, she can help you. Because they'll ask their parents, Mom, I got this form W-4. What do I do? How do I fill this out? They're like, well, I don't know, call Mary. So they'll call me and I'll help this person fill out their W-4. I'm not going to charge her for that or him for that. But guess what? I was friendly on the phone to her or him, and they felt comfortable asking me, a question like that. So at the end of the year, they come by, they have to do their tax return. I've been doing their tax return forever anyway, so I know. So now I know them. Now I know they're just not, John's daughter. I know that this is an adult now, so I will invest in that relationship. I'll reach out, can I help you with your tax return? That kind of thing. Another source would be referrals from friends and colleagues. Geez, Colleen, I really have this issue, and I really need to figure out how to make my 401k options. Who would you call? Who would you call? Who can I call? Right? So just ask your friends. What do they do? Networking, attending networking events. People will come and speak to you, and you may have a connection with them right when they start speaking. I thought Kate did a great job today. I really liked your whole team approach with all of that. I mean, that resonates with me because I have daughters that are athletes. I was an athlete growing up. It may not resonate with someone else. So you need to find your person that you connect with. Another Chamber of Commerce, trade groups. That usually they're people starting out might go to these types of events, and those are great people to start working with because maybe you will grow with them. That's another place to find affinity groups. Places that churches, something like that. Workshops. A lot of times financial advisors will have workshops on similar to what we did this morning. You go to those places. Attended Women's Empowerment Summit. We're here, right? And then I think, Becky, you're going to talk to I have one more slide, okay. Oh, some key tips here, okay. touched on this. Develop the relationship before you need it. We can't stress this enough, too. If you have someone that you enjoy working with, ask. Don't just go once a year to prepare your tax return, or go there once a year to do your financial checkup. Have periodic check-ins. They should be checking in with you as well. So work on that relationship. When they call you, when you call them, ask them something about their personal life. Get to know them. Get a connection there. Trial and error. It's going to take time to find this person. It's not going to happen the very first time you engage with someone. It may, but it may not. So don't give up. Okay, that trust will get there. And give this energy to the relationship. It is a two-way relationship. You want to make sure that you're working together on this. Share and communicate early and often. I touched on that already. And if you aren't comfortable, guess what? They're not trusted advisors. If they make you feel uncomfortable in any way by talking down to you or not fully explaining something or making assumptions about you, they're not considered trusted.
Or if they're not giving you the time you need to answer all your questions.
Or if they don't call you back. It takes weeks to call you back. You need someone that you can rely on. Will be there for you.
Because it's just like any other relationship in your life. If you don't really feel that connection and feel the trust and feel the mutual respect, you're not gonna get what you need out of it, nor will they. And most professionals like us and Kate and anybody else in this room, your goal is to be that trusted advisor to your client. So if that person's not reaching out to you occasionally to find out how are things going, can I help you with, if you're thinking about merging a business or starting a new business, hopefully they know enough about you that they know that this is going on in your life and they're going to reach out and say, how can I help you with this? We know that it's a challenging time. You're getting married or you're having kids or, your kids are going to college. What can I do to help you out with that? Do you need any advice? That's the kind of relationship you will hopefully be able to develop with them. And also I want to make sure that if you do have trusted advisors, and I may have already said this, but they should know each other too. You should introduce them so that if you have a lawyer that you work with, who has helped you out with your will, helped you out with your business, make sure that they know the accountant that you're working with and your financial advisor, because each of them might know a little piece of what you're doing, but if they're able to work together and help and share that information, you are going to be so much better off. You're not going to have people duplicating efforts and spending too much time on things when, if they were working together, they'd be able to share that information and give you the economies of scale that you're going to get from a team. So
I'd like to
make sure
interject
it's a team.
Trusted advisors like that. Honestly, I prefer to work that way. I can't be the be-all and end-all to all my clients. I like having people I work with, an advisor or a lawyer or something that we can pick up the phone and talk about ideas before they're even presented to you.
So they can develop that whole strategy for you and with you, and you are much better off. That the whole is greater than the sum of the parts at that point. So that's really what you want. So just to kind of summarize a little bit of what Mary said, and to segue into another part here, your trusted advisor should share your values. You want to do the same things. You don't necessarily have to agree on everything, but you do want to have the same structure of values. They should support and challenge you. Like I said before, they should not be the yes man or the yes woman to you and just say, okay, whatever you want. But they should be supporting you in achieving your goals and also give you a little bit of a challenge. Maybe you're kind of going down a wrong path and they see that through their experience, and some of us are a little headstrong and need to learn on our own through these experiences, but they do have the experience, and that's one of the reasons that they're your trusted advisors. So they should be challenging you and you should listen to them. They should be encouraging you to achieve your potential. So there is a bit of a mentor aspect to this relationship, hopefully, if you've got the right relationship. And your trusted advisor should not use use fear or belittlement when they're talking to you. They should not overcomplicate issues. And one thing I want to talk about as we get into the next slide, not yet though, is overcomplication, and I'll get right back to that. But trusted advisors should also not cut you off from your other trusted advisors, from your family, or from other professionals or friends. If that is something that's happening, if you're feeling like that person is trying to exert a little too much control over your life, run the other way as fast as you possibly can, because that's the sign of a person who might be trying to take advantage of you, steal from you, etc., but it's not in your best interests. And they should not try to monopolize you. So sometimes, unfortunately, trusted advisors turn into big crooks and are actually very, are not worth the trust that you have given them. And that is where I go back to the overcomplication of things, and my big example right here of trusted advisors who have turned into untrusted crooks is Bernie Madoff. Is everybody familiar with Bernie Madoff? Okay. He was a very, he had a lot of stature in the financial community. He was head of one of the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. He had some, he was an advisor and broker, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm not gonna, okay, he was a partner. So the thing is, a lot of people liked him. He, apparently had a lot of charisma, convinced a lot of people to invest their money with him. A lot of organizations invested their money with him. This was almost an affinity group fraud, where it was a lot of the same type of people that he was going after. And the overcomplication part comes where the methods that he used to allegedly achieve all of these amazing returns on your investment was so complicated, nobody could understand it. They all thought he was a genius, that he was the only one who would come up with this. Well, that is a huge red flag that there is something wrong there, and that is not a good thing that you want to be involved in. I mean, in his case, he was promising these outlandish returns that nobody could accomplish legally. And just his methodology, his formulas, his algorithms were so complicated that nobody really understood what they were. So that's the perfect way to hide a fraud. And unfortunately, he was a trusted advisor, and he turned out to be a really bad apple. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. So how do we figure out and vet our trusted advisors? Because you don't want to put your trust in somebody who's going to take advantage of you. And there are some ways that you can take some pretty easy steps to start checking out your trusted advisor, maybe before you get quite to that really trusted point. But for CPAs, you can find out if they're actually licensed. And I know if you can either take a photograph of this, or we can send this to you if you're interested in it. These are certain websites where you can look up the certifications and qualifications of the people that you might be dealing with. So for CPAs, you can find out if they're licensed and if they've been disciplined. And each state board that licenses certified public accountants will have a license verification website. So the top one is the New Jersey verification, or you can just type in CPA license verification into Google, it'll take you to that site. Or you can go and you can get you can find the sites for each state under the cpaverify.org. It will have a list of the states, and you can link to each state's verification site. If you're looking to check out your financial advisors, there are a couple places. So FINRA is one organization that oversees financial industry people. That's the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. And they have a site called Broker Check, where you can find out whether your the person that you are depending on to give you advice about your money, has had any kind of complaints, if they're properly licensed, and any good reports about them there. There's also a couple of SEC sites that you can look up to find out if these people have had any actions taken against them, or complaints or discipline. So if you're going to start trusting somebody, I would highly advise that you do look them up on these sites. So attorneys, you can also find out whether they are reputable as far as their licensing. And this one website It's a really long website, but you can then go there to search your attorney and find out whether there's been any disciplinary action taken against them, whether they are currently licensed in the state that they're supposed to be licensed in, etc. So you want to know that these things are right. Now, again, Bernie Madoff, before his whole scheme came tumbling down, he seemed to be a totally upstanding person. And if you had looked him up on BrokerCheck, you probably wouldn't have found anything. So again, you have to kind of use your common sense. When something sounds too good to be true, it is, always. So if somebody's promising you returns that are just ridiculously out of this world that nobody else can accomplish, don't believe them. If they make you feel uncomfortable, go to somebody else. If they are, again, making things overcomplicated and not breaking it down to a level you can understand, that's not helping you. Find somebody else who you can communicate with. So all of those things are just things to keep in mind, common sense wise, about making sure you feel comfortable. So next, okay, we're going to talk about cost. So we did have a comment about that. Is how do we know, whether what we're going to charge? And that's really something that's very important to know when you're looking for trusted advisors. While I said there is a mentorship, there might be a mentorship aspect to your relationship with a trusted advisor, you do have to pay for them. They are bringing a lot of experience to your life and advice that you can't necessarily get on Google. Google is great. There's lots of stuff out there. I look for videos on how to repair my dryer. I look for recipes. I look for all sorts of things. But it's not necessarily going to be the greatest way for you to plan your financial life or take care of your legal issues. So you definitely need to go and pay somebody for that. And as Mary mentioned, that once you develop a relationship with this person, they're probably not going to nickel and dime you and charge you for every second that you're on the phone. But do make sure when you're in the beginning of that relationship, don't be shy about asking what their fees are and how they charge. Because different professionals will do it differently. You might get a CPA and just for a tax return, they're going to charge you a flat fee. It might be more of a consulting engagement where it might be hourly. For financial planners and financial advisors, there are a number of different ways that they're going to charge. It might be a commission, it might be a flat fee, it might be based on trades or the volume of assets under management. There are all different types of ways to charge. Lawyers are typically hourly, although they might do certain transactional things for a flat fee, like preparing a will, etc. But find that out beforehand, because you might not need that $600 an hour lawyer to prepare a will, unless you're like fabulously wealthy and have a very complicated estate. But make sure you know that information, because it might not be worth it for you at that time. But as Mary said, once you develop that relationship, when your kid needs a question answered or needs help with something, they may not charge you for it. You do develop that kind of a relationship where it could be something that is not as every second you're on the phone. But also try not to use these people, especially attorneys, as kind of your sounding board or where you want to complain, because when you're on the phone for just think about how long you're talking with them. Be judicious about how much you talk to them and how much time they're taking up, because they do have a professional practice that they need to make money off of as well, and they will try to give you as much attention and time as you can, but don't take advantage of it. And also, if you are developing a relationship with someone else who's also earlier in their career, so if you're younger, if you need this kind of advice, and you find somebody
Okay, ladies, I guess you didn't hear that, so we're going to play it again a little louder, and we want some crowd participation. All right, here the DJ Sam. Pump it up. You can have it all, no sacrifice. I know we did you wrong, we can make it right. So come on, let it all hang out, ladies. Cause we don't love you anymore. And then we're going to take the torch, your hair Empowerment Summit has been going great. It's been great because you've been participating. We're at the point now where we're going to have a dynamic speaker come up to the stage. But I just want to say how happy I am to hear all the great comments from everybody about what they're learning, who they've met, and what they're going to do when they leave. So I just want you to know that we couldn't do this without you, and because you're here, this is a great event. Our next speaker this afternoon is from the great state of New Jersey, Stephanie Burrows. She is empowering, inspiring, impactful speaker. She's a dynamic, inspirational speaker, author, trainer, small business navigator. She does it all. But what she does is she does it to great heights. For over 30 years, Stephanie has been navigating minority women, veterans, small business owners through various government, political, public, and corporate procedures and procurements throughout the country. Stephanie has been featured on WNBC Cable, TV, Comcast Cable, and in Diversity Plus magazines. She has networked for radio and print media, podcast, internet, you name it, she does it. So without further ado, put your hands together for Stephanie, little dynamo, and she's known for her glasses. Now take my arm and set the pole like she does.
Get a grip, ladies, get a grip, ladies, get a grip, ladies, and grow your grit. In this time that we're living in today, we all need to have some grit because there's a whole lot of nonsense going on, and folks are just losing themselves, and folks are just always wanting to be in there. And can you just give me a moment? Where's my, I need you to turn this off for me, please. Can we do this? I put you to work anyway. See, you thought you were going to get away from me. All right? Put you to work anyway. You know what to do. Just flip the thing open, flip it around, and click the little red button when it pops up. Thank you so much. You know, I'm using a professional here, you know? This is what she does in her business. Thank you so much. So as I said, there's a lot going on in the world today, and it's really, really difficult sometimes to try to swallow it all. So guess what? Don't. You have the power to turn it off. You have the power to minimize. You have the power to limit. So just don't. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. But I know it's going to take some grit. I know because so many of the younger people are growing up in a very different time when you've been hit with this stuff, the media, and what's going on in the world at a very young age. But you don't have to. You can limit. You can set boundaries, but it takes grit. And I'm gonna share with you what I mean by grit. I'm gonna talk about 4 principles, but I'm not gonna go in deep and into depth in it. I'm gonna focus on one in particular, which is the foundation. GRIT is an acronym for being grounded, resilient, intentional, and tenacious. Can y'all say that with me? Grounded, resilient, intentional, and tenacious. You know, I tell people I'm like a pit bull. When I put my teeth in something, I don't let go of it. So whatever that thing is that I want, whatever that thing is that I want and I need. See, and when it becomes a must, because they say when a need becomes a must, you have to have it. You have to go for it. You have to do whatever that thing is you must do. So what is your must? It's not enough to want. Want's not going to move you into action. But when that want becomes a need, then you start getting real hungry and your stomach starts growling. You know what I'm saying? Some of you had growling stomachs before you came in here. And then when that stomach is not getting fed enough, then it becomes a must. I must. Like when you're in a desert, like Les Brown talks about when you're in a desert and you've been there almost 7 days and you're looking for the water and you're looking for some food and you need something and then now it's no more need anymore. It's now I must find some food. I must find some water because I am not just hungry. I am hungry, he says. Yes. When that need becomes a must, you'll take action. So I'm talking about the foundation of grit, because honestly, when the Lord called me to speak on this, I've been talking about government contracts and public contracts and helping people make hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts and all these diversity certifications for a whole long time. I'm just saying. I'm 65 and sweet and fine. But when he called me to talk about grit, I was hesitant. I said, I don't know. Who's going to want to hear about this? And he says, have you not been looking at my people and what's going on out here? And I wasn't. I wasn't really picking up on things. I was still living in my world. And one day in New York City on 7th Avenue, I stopped and I looked around and I said, oh my God, where am I? Because everyone seemed to look different. And I felt like an alien on planet Earth. And it was a feeling of being shaken to the core, like, where am I? I lost my balance a little bit. I didn't understand. Because it was all the noise that I had shut out. Suddenly I was right there on 7th Avenue, Midtown Manhattan, and it was all hitting me really hard. And I realized, oh, I see what you mean now. Everybody's crying, they're whining, they're hurting, they're in pain, they're overwhelmed. So many things are happening here, and they don't know how to process all of this. But see, my grit had kept me encapsulated, because I was on a mission, I was focused, nothing was gonna stop me from doing what I needed to do, what I must do, what I must have, what I must go after, which is what I'm doing today. I'm speaking, I'm training, I'm coaching, but not all what I've done for so many years. And I've already authored a book, and I'll share that with you later. But what's happening now is altogether different, because it is a must to get this message out so that we can all begin to breathe. Before I go any further with the foundation, let me just share something with you. I'd like each and every one of you to just say a few words with me. I'm going to take you through some declarations. I had a lot of them, but this past Saturday I handed most of them out to a group of young boys that I had an opportunity to speak to and to inspire and to open up their minds. These declarations, the ones that resonate with you the most, I would say write it down. Don't walk away thinking you're going to remember something. No, you're not. Your stomach is trying to digest the food. Your mind is going into this. Come on now. Write it down. So loudly say this with me. I am in control of my thoughts, words, and emotions.
I am in control of my thoughts, words.
Did you know you had the control? Do you know that what you, write this down, speak. Sorry, let me start again. What you think and speak, you reap. What you think and speak, you reap. So these words are very powerful, because everything you think and you speak about it, and you speak about it with power, and you speak about it, oh, this isn't going to work. Oh, I don't like this so. Oh, I need to get a new, these people are getting on my last nerves. And you say that over and over and over, and you put that emotion into it. You are creating so much energy that it manifests over time. So all the things you complained about, eventually they came to pass. All the things you worried about, eventually they came to pass. So why not think instead of what's the worst thing that can happen? What's the best thing that can happen? I live in the present moment. Say it.
I live in the present moment.
That means the stuff that already happened, leave it there. Okay? Because what happens is this. Your feelings are contingent upon something happening. Did you know your feelings are only supposed to last 90 seconds? Dr. Joan Rosenberg talks about this. She says only 90 seconds. And so all you have to do is just acknowledge, okay, I felt this way because they said this happened, this did, but it's not me. Next. And keep it stepping. Because if you don't let that thing go, it will fester in you and you'll keep it for the rest of your life. And many of you are carrying baggage from 20 years ago, if you were living 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, still hurting, still crying. Release. I give you the permission to release. I give you permission to say, yes, my mother's dead, my father's dead. I know they're in a better place because I know whose they are. Even though they kicked my butt, whooped me, daughter of a Marine, raised like one of the troops, in boot camp in their house for 17 years. But because of that strong foundation, that's where I learned to grow my grit. Because I had to grit my way through that house. for 17 years. I couldn't run out fast enough, I'm just saying, but I'm so grateful and thankful today that they did what they did. Somebody talked about the butt being warmed up. One time I got hit so hard, so fast, my mother knocked me into the thing where all the pots and pans were. I didn't even know what happened. I had to have said something that I had no business saying. We were to be seen and not heard, speaking when spoken to only. Hello. Discipline. Responsibility. So about being resilient and being grounded, I'm going to really talk about grounded because that's foundational, okay? We all know what resilience is, right? What is it? Say again? Bounce back. Oh, why would you want to bounce back? Why not bounce forward? When I bounce a ball, I want that ball to go forward. When you're playing basketball, you throw that ball, you want it to go forward. You don't want to bounce back to where you were. You want to bounce forward to where you're going. But there's a lot more to that. So let's talk about being grounded. And y'all should know intentional and tenacious. Now I tell you, each of these, when I talk about them, when I coach on them, when I'm training on it, it's not what the word means. There are principles, there are pillars, 16 in fact, 4 for each one of the words that go behind this. I have the acronym of GRIT was given to me, well, it wasn't given, I had to figure it out. My coach told me, he said, I want you to make GRIT an acronym, because you are the grit factor for sure. I was like, oh my gosh, you saw under the covers, huh? You peeked, you saw me, for real. Not the me that I let you see. You saw the real me. That little lady from North New Jersey, the one that doesn't take anything from anybody. The one that at the age of 26 was 126 pounds soaking wet, 5 feet strong, sitting in a room full of men, all construction owners of huge construction companies, and having to talk to them about monitoring and doing the things they needed to do for these minority businesses and for the labor force and had to meet these goals and so forth. And they sat there and ignored me for 4 months while they said every negative thing you would ever hear, things you won't hear, things most of you will never hear, and you would not be able to sit still if you heard it. Or some of them weeping and crying today. But I had to hear it because I was the only black and the only female in that room. But my grit rose up. I had to push it down. I was like, oh no, see, I felt like getting up and running after them and just like punching every single one of them. I just wanted to run around the table and punch them. And I was like, I felt the heat up to my knees and I said, oh Lord, what am I gonna do? He said, you just sit still and learn this business from them. I'll take care of the rest. Wow. And in month 4, when I came to the table, they said, the big influencer said, Miss Burroughs is at the table. I almost fell out. I was like, what? He said, gentlemen, you need to watch what you're saying, and we need to find out everything she needs from us and our staff and the engineers on site and make sure she gets what she needs. Now, what would you have done? So let's say this. I have my own point of view. Do you have your own point of view? Say it.
I have my own point of view.
I'm worthy to be loved. I was created to fulfill a specific purpose.
I was created to fulfill a specific purpose.
You all heard about this a lot today, right? A specific purpose. I'm confident in my abilities. Are you really? Because you didn't sound so confident to me. Say it like you mean it.
I am confident in my abilities.
Ooh, that's so much better. I possess a healthy self-esteem.
I possess a healthy self-esteem.
I love who I am and who I am becoming.
I love who I am and who I am becoming.
Yes. I live in the present moment.
I live in the present moment.
Let that resonate with you while I take you on a little ride real quick. So now you know what the acronym GRIT stands for. Grit is our gift. It really is. If you call upon it, if you live in it, if you work in it, if you use it, it is your gift. Don't be shy about it. Don't be afraid. Don't worry about what somebody else is thinking. I don't. I know whose I am, and I know who I am. And I am so grateful and thankful I've come to this place in my life. But there's more coming. So the journey of self-discovery does not stop until we are no longer on this side of the earth. Grit in psychology is a positive non-cognitive trait based on an individual's passion for a particular long-term goal. Look at what you heard from this morning. How many times did you try out?
6 times.
6 times. So when would you have quit? It's a long-term goal. Miss Joetta, 6 times, and look at what she did. How many of you had a long-term goal that you actually achieved? Outstanding. Did you write down what that was so that you have something to go back to and look at and remind yourself of your success? How many of you write down your successes? So this grit is for a long-term goal or end state coupled with a powerful motivation to achieve your respective objective. So you have to, what motivated you to keep going, even when you might have felt like you were gonna quit? Did you ever feel like, I don't know if this is gonna happen? Come on, some of us, we all have doubts sometimes, right? We can't say we're not gonna be doubtful of ourselves. Sometimes I'm standing here right now, like, I got so much stuff in my head, I'm like, Lord, is this really working? Is this really what you want from me? Am I really on the right path? Sometimes I have to ask again. Even though you already told me, like, you are such a hard-headed knucklehead, I just don't know. When are you gonna get it? Somebody here is a Marine, you know what I'm talking about when I say knucklehead, right? He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior, says Confucius. Determination, fortitude, bravery, courage. Bravery, facing something that is making you so fearful that your knees are shaking. It's happened to me. Something happens when you get a certain age and you start going over these bridges, and especially when you're like this. Anybody in here know what I'm talking about? Yes, thank you, I'm not alone. Yeah, there's one that I really, really hate. On 78 going to Jersey City. Oh my gosh. And I had to take it recently. And here's my mantra, all the way up. I'm peaceful, calm, tranquil, and patient. Now mind you, I'm on the inside lane because you don't want to look out on the outside over the two. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm peaceful, calm, tranquil, and patient. I had to do that this morning coming here because I'm not accustomed to being out there every single morning going with the traffic. I'm used to, when I do come out early in the morning, go against the traffic. And so I had to deal with it and say I'm peaceful, calm, tranquil, and patient. Y'all can use this if you like. I am peaceful, calm, tranquil, and patient. Now, when I first started, it took 10 times for me to get to that state. But I've done it so much that by the time I get to the word calm, everything inside of me starts to what are you doing to calm yourself and to move you forward with determination and fortitude? And that's when the bravery begins to arise. And that's the courage. I'm like, dang, I feel good now. I'm starting to drive like these other knuckleheads out here. Not being grounded means to have a very strong foundation. I don't know if you can see this very well, but what you're looking at is a foundation that's being built for a really, really tall building. And you can tell that because the rebar that's out there, that's a particular type of steel, is tremendous. The yardage on that is insane. And then that means they're going to be filling that with concrete. It has to be a special type of concrete. What kind of concrete are you made of? Are you the kind of concrete that, you know, might be a little bit shaky? It doesn't harden to a certain degree. Or you the concrete that no matter what you do, nobody can move you. What kind of concrete are you? Are you easily moved? Are you easily upset? Are you easily jarred by things that are happening? Or by what someone's saying? Or by the fact that you just couldn't get that brand new Samsung 10? Me and my 7 are doing just fine, I'm just saying. Fundamentals of being grounded. I talk about having core values. Do you know what your core values are? Have you ever sat down and really thought about your values? Because your core values are how you make every single decision in life. And some of that stuff's not good. Some of it needs to be tossed out and replaced. So you don't want to toss it out and leave a vacant space, because anything can fill that. Did you know that from the time you were born up until the age of approximately 6 years old, every single environment that you've been in, every single person that's been around you, the energy that has been surrounding you, everything you've heard, everything you've seen up to that point is being downloaded into you without filters. Without filters. So a lot of our core values are really stinking thinking. It's stuff we need to get rid of. It's people that should not have been around us. We should not have been in certain places. When we were kids, when we were young, when you were born, your parents kept you away from people for a certain period of time. They didn't bring you right outside right away. There was a reason for that. That was protection from what's out there that does not belong inside your child. Something to think about. So core values, core beliefs. Do you know what your core beliefs are? Are you writing them down? Are you assessing? This is part of the work you have to do on you. What are you thinking that has you moving in a certain direction when there's some part of you that says, no, you should not be going there? It's time to change. Time for knowing what your core values are, taking the time to really check them out, find out for yourself, and make the change. And you know what, I'm gonna tell you something. I had somebody one time, I went through a whole process with her in coaching, and she made the mistake of going home and telling her husband, I'm gonna be doing such and such and such, and I'm not gonna be doing this business anymore because I wanna start this business that is really what I wanna do, that I'm passionate about, it's my purpose, and da-da-da-da-da. And the man almost went berserk. She saw me the next day, came to me, she said, oh my God, he was so upset. I was like, you were not supposed to say anything to him. You're just getting started. All you're supposed to do is take this in and begin the planning process so you take the proper action. Do not tell him anything. I had another young lady that I coached, and she came back to me and she said, oh, Dr. Burroughs, I've changed so much. I told my husband that I had changed, and he said, I don't see anything yet. I was like, don't say anything. Just do and be through the becoming. Don't say anything. It took a while for my husband to get it. He knew certain things weren't, I wasn't responding to certain things, and he knew something different was taking place, but it took a while. I never said anything. I was just working. I was on my journey, next level. And then what happened one day, he gave me a call. And he said, I'm really upset. I'm on this job. He's in a construction site, putting up with a lot of And he said, I'm really, really upset. I feel like I'm gonna do something really, really wrong because these people are trying to kill me on this site. And I said to him, you know what? Take a deep breath. If you have to leave, you leave. But I need you to breathe. And I talked to him for a little while. Now here's the thing. He had never in his life done anything like that before. So what happened? The change in me was rubbing off on him. Where he may have taken actions that could have been detrimental, he thought to call me first to talk him down. I was shocked. I was like, okay. So you don't have to say anything, just let people see for themselves the change in you. Am I making sense? Okay, awesome, awesome. So I'm gonna move through this real quick because there's something else I want to get to you with. Change. So once you've identified your core values and core beliefs, you want to work on those and you want to make some changes. But let me just talk about change. There's a lot of change going on in the world right now, and you're having to respond, or in your jobs you're having to respond because they're responding to the changes that are going on in the outside, regulations, laws, everything's changing like this right now. And so I want you to think about how you respond to change. What do you do? How do you feel? How do you move through it? Because you're going to have to move through it one way or another. You can't not get away from the change. Because if you don't change, you don't grow. And if you're not growing, you are what?
Dying.
Thank you! Say that again.
Dying.
Come on now. Somebody has read my stuff. So we want to go through the change with ease and with peace. It's up to you. You make the decision. It's your decision, no one else's. You don't have to listen to anyone else griping and moaning and groaning. It's your decision how you will move through this change, whatever it is, because change is constant and it's not going to stop until the earth stops revolving around the sun. Hopefully no time soon. Core values, write them down. And just start with 3. Identify your self-awareness, emotional. On a scale of 1 to 10. Like, how many of you take time to really think? Because I know I've heard so all day long, we don't have time, you got the kids, you got this organization, and now I know people on so many boards. I'm like, how do you do that? I'm having a hard time just dealing with several different organizations. How do you do that? But when you get time for yourself, do you take out time for daily self-reflection? You heard about this earlier. What's your, do you laugh at least once a day? How many of you laugh at least once a day? Oh, this is awesome! You don't know, I see so many sad faces. People don't even want to smile. My face hurts, I smile so much sometimes. I'm like, why is my jaw hurt? Oh, I must have been smiling today a whole lot. If you don't get a laugh once a day, that's okay. I would say it's great if you could. And I'm not just talking, see, you heard her laugh. Did you hear her laugh? That's a hard laugh, that's a good laugh. See, when I find a week has gone by and I haven't had a belly laugh, I go to that show, World's Funniest Videos, so I can watch the people doing all those crazy falls. I'm one of them, that's why I'm in sneakers today, because I've been injured from a crazy fall. And when I fall, I laugh. So I know, I just wish that I had somebody videotaping it so I could win the $10,000 on that show. I'm just saying. How do you perceive your energy level? Your inner energy and your external energy level. I want you to think about you. Come on. Let me tell you something, and it was said this morning, but the two of us were talking about this because of what Joetta said this morning. You come first. But let me tell you, Pastor said this just recently, and I was like, yeah, I just told the group this, and they looked at me like I was crazy. He said, God first, it's in the Word. Then comes you. Then your significant other, meaning husband in that case, or wife. And then the children. And this group, the women all went, I said, see, that's why they're leaving you. Because you put those kids before them. And you got it out of order. That's the order. So it's God, you, significant other, kids, and then the rest of the family. When you get that sewn into you, then you will not feel guilty when you spend time with yourself. Okay? Stedman says, because when I ask people, who are you, they go into all their titles. And he says most people are defined by their titles, their cars, their house, where they came from, their color, their race, their religion. And so it's up to you to take control of your own life and define you. As long as you understand who you are and you have a solid foundation of understanding what your talents are, what your skills are, Then you get to know who you are. So when I ask people, I do a workshop, I did this workshop called Growing Grit for Government Contracting. Yeah, I took these people on a ride. And I said, now, everybody stand up one at a time, tell me who you are, and you're not the mother, because that's the role you chose. You're not the dad, that's a role you chose. You're not the engineer, that's a profession you chose. See, who you are is who you were created to be. Before you were placed in your mother's womb, it was already decided. So when you're trying to find out what your purpose is, you already have it, it's within you. Look at what your gifts and your talents are to begin with, and then explore further. But it's going to be very evident once you start to work on yourself and spend time with yourself. Does this make sense to anybody? Am I making sense? Yes. All right, so somebody talk to me, please? Because y'all are looking at me like I'm a crazy person up here. I'm just saying. You've got to be able to delve deeper, and you continue to delve deep, because as you grow and as you move further and further into who you are, and you are not all those titles. I'm a child of God, that's it. I'm just doing His will. Nothing more, nothing less. Except when I'm in my flesh, then I'm a hot mess.
Right.
So, I'm constantly working on me. Okay? Now, I had a quote from Les Brown, but I couldn't find it. Yes, that's it. I couldn't find it. I was digging for 2 hours until like 5 o'clock this morning. I could not find it. I was like, okay, devil, get behind me. Let me just paraphrase. He said, and it's in the song, I'm a deep house, underground house head.
Hello.
Okay. Oh, I get it in. It's summertime. Park after park after park, New York, New Jersey. Okay? Just saying. And so it was on this song by a DJ that's out of Toronto, Canada, because he does some serious deep house. He even does some classical mixes that are great when you want to study or read or something. He's awesome. And he basically is saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You got to hear him when he says, it doesn't matter what other people are saying about you. It doesn't matter if the things you're going after aren't working for you right now. It doesn't matter. And he just goes on into this thing. He says, it doesn't matter, but what does matter is this. What are you going to do about it? All those things you hear the complaints about and the issues and the challenges and what other folks are doing and what other folks are saying, none of that matters. What matters is, what are you going to do about you living in the fullness of you and impacting the world in the process? Because you cannot make a change in the world until you are living, as some would say, your authentic self. I'm just saying, when you are living all of who you were meant to be, you are impacting others just by being you. Just by being you. I'm loving it. I'm having a blast. Seeing how things are changing, I'm changing, and how people are changing around me and doing things differently. And coming to me and letting me know the impact that I'm having. And I'm like, well, what did I do? I was just being myself. They're like, I know, that's just it. Remember when you said, no, I don't, that was from God. I don't remember that. Eckhart Tolle is talking about, who am I? You define yourself by your thoughts, deeper and deeper consciousness. What are your thoughts about yourself? You better be saying how awesome you are. I get up in the morning and look in the mirror and I can look like a hot mess. Like, you know, who shot John and left me on the side of the road? But I'm gonna look in that mirror. You are awesome! You're gorgeous. You're the bomb.com. You're about to go out here and slay today. You are phenomenal. You are, ooh. Just saying. Because if I don't say that, who is going to say that? And I don't care if somebody else is saying it, because they could be lying. I'm saying it to me, because it says, I love me. I want y'all to say, I love me. Say I love me like you mean it. You know, say I love me like you say to that guy. or that gal, you know. The one that's lying to you. I'm sorry, I'm acting up. Let me get back on track. Your talents are directly related to your purpose and passion. Your passion fuels your purpose. See, everybody talks about, I'm loving, I'm living in my passion. No. Passion is the energy in you. That's the energy in you. But it fuels the purpose. It's what moves you. It's like putting gas in a car. Your passion is the gas that you put into your purpose. It's fueling the purpose. And now you're working in it. And now you're running in it. And now you're living in it. Oh, that was cool. I did a running analogy, didn't I? Okay. So identify your talents, monetize your talents. That's what I'm doing. And I'm going to, because I want to do something with you, I'm going to stop it here. Because there's so much more. I have a lot. So, I'm just going to, oh, no, this is important. Resilience. So let me show you this. You see this? I was on this train that derailed. It was hit by a gigantic boom when I was on my way to go do a 2-day shoot for a digital training program I was doing. And it was down in Delaware. It was right outside of Pennsylvania. Philadelphia, rather. Now, people were going crazy on the train. I didn't understand. We were still upright. I already planned. What did you do when you think this, in the event of a train? I was like, I'm gonna hit the floor and hold on to the thing underneath the seats. I'm holding on. That's just what I did, because I planned in advance. Okay? I didn't know it was gonna happen, but in my head, I had already said, riding the train so much, this is what I'll do. People were going crazy. So after a lot of stuff, when we ended up back in Philadelphia, they asked people, did they want to go on their journey or did they want to quit? Do you know the majority of the people decided to go back home? Now, you done paid all this money for this train ticket to go wherever you're going down south, and you're going to turn around and go back home on another train, and you still walking and talking and living and smiling. Yes, we did have 2 fatalities, but they were on the track doing the work. Somebody didn't communicate. I was like, you better get me to my destination. I got a job to do. I have work to do. There's no way in the world I'm stopping. Everything is still here and it's still working, and I have a purpose to fulfill. And so I went on. That's being resilient. Matter of fact, I was reporting on live or something. It wasn't live back then, but I was uploading stuff, and somebody reached out to me on Twitter and said, and then I got a call on my phone. I don't know how the news people got my phone number. It's a Google phone number, Google voice number. I don't know how they got that number, but they called me and wanted me to give them a blow-by-blow of everything that was taking place. I was a reporter. And then I was on Channel 7. And I thought it was just going to be in the night, but they put it on in the morning too. I was like, what? Through Skype. Unbelievable. So I want you to know, intentional living means making choices for your life based on your greatest values, not the habits of others. All right, real quick. Let me take you down for a minute, and then I'll be done. So I have some things. And I do have some books, so if you see me out at my table as I pack up, and I'll be willing to share with you. But this is some really good stuff. So remember to breathe. I think you've heard this today. Did you all hear this? Remember to breathe. Essential breath usually goes on beneath our notice. Taking a breath to softly focus on the inflow and outflow can center and ground us like nothing else. So breath connects us to the rhythm of life and our core nature. Relax into a conscious breathing moment and let the world dissolve. You should be doing that at night too. Let the world dissolve so that we can sleep. Some of us that don't know how to sleep because we can't stop thinking, we need to do that. And that's me, okay? Opening our inner ears takes some practice. The chatter of everyday thinking can drown out the whisper of inner knowing. Empty your cup. Y'all hear this before? When? Thank you. So see, I meant so. Empty your cup with a few outflowing breaths. Then sit quietly at the well and listen. From deepest sources comes clear wisdom. Everybody just say this. I am grounded, I am resilient.
I am grounded, I am resilient.
I work daily on increasing my inner strength.
I work daily on increasing my inner strength.
I persevere towards attaining my goals.
I persevere towards attaining my goals.
I demonstrate my fortitude. Y'all getting slow now. Pick up that energy now. I am a leader. I am an encourager. I am here to make a positive difference in the world. Amen. Thank you very much. God bless each and every one of you. The light we vow to and honor the light in you. Namaste.
Dr. Stephanie Burrows, put your hands together for one more time. She mentioned that she has books outside in the foyer with our vendors. We come to the time now where it's about to close down, but before we say so long for this year, I want to thank my staff. We always talk about teamwork does what? Teamwork! So my dream team, stand up. Janine and Gail just left. What happened? Stand up! Yes. Tracy, Renee, Sonia, Brad, Donald, Jackie, Leslie, and we mentioned they're going to thank you. Without them, this wouldn't work out. Again, my spot. Oh, we can't. What happened? Oh. Again, my sponsors, Horizon, Table One, Soul, Sally, thank you very much. Investors Bank, thank you very much. Shirley Goldberg and Henry, Empower Somerset. Wherever you are, thank you very much. And I just want to leave you with this. I think it's important to always be left with something, because when you come to these events, you have to be proactive. And when you're proactive, you don't blame anybody else. You take control of the situation yourself. So you heard Dr. Stephanie talk about grit. You heard Joetta talk about the other word, S-H-I-T. It kind of rhymes a little bit. You heard Candy talk about all the amazing biblical women and all the great things they did and how they were powerful women at that time and how things changed depending on what woman she was talking about. We heard from Kay Sweeney and Lola about investing at all ages and from high school, college, and over. We heard from here we go, Rebecca and Mary talked about cyber, internet, protecting yourself, security, and is anybody else that missed today? Yes, Iris from Horizon and J-Now. We talked about health industry as well. So with all that being said, without them being here with this information, you wouldn't be able to go home and start to grow. So some people say there's a season and there's a reason. There's a season when you're planted. Some people think that you're buried. I always say that you're planted and you're waiting to grow. So if there's a dormant period, don't think that you're buried, that you're put away. You're just being planted and you're being ready to grow. And I always like to end on time, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that it's important that you meet more people if you can, exchange business cards, and when you come back next year, bring someone with you, try and become a sponsor, make this event bigger and better. I get the emails from everyone saying how well it was, how well organized it was, but if the time you have, but that's how you really feel, come back with somebody else. And if there's something that you'd like to see differently or added into, or think you can be a presenter, or have some ideas, we accept everything, because you only grow and get better by accepting the diverse ideas from everybody else, and I do that. And on this note, I'm gonna leave with my garden. Plant your garden of empowerment, which is you plant 6 rows of peas, have a purpose, get prepared, be patient, get perturbed, persevere, and pray. Plant 3 rows of squash. Squash gossip, squash indifference, and squash criticism. Plant 3 rows of turnip. Turnip will work at school, turnip with a new idea, and turn up with the determination to do a better job tomorrow than you did today. And if you do that, your garden of empowerment will be planted, and you must water it with your ace. be accountable, be credible, and be enthusiastic. And that is what you have been, because you are all phenomenal, fit, and